DeVos, comment pertaining to East Peary Hall School District and its sales. All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any additional comment? 3 minutes. 3 minutes. And thank you, Ms. DeVos, for adhering to our rules for 3 minutes. You did well.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, we'll move forward with additional items on our agenda. And Mr. B.J. Hampton. Mr. B.J., if you would come forward, please.
I'd like to say good morning to everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
On there to talk about, I'll do it as fast as I can. The first one I really want to talk about was, on there to talk about, I'll do it as fast as I can. The first one I really want to talk about was, I did 3 projects for 2016. First project I did was South Montgomery, leading to the horse park on down on off top, one road, Bluff Lake was a box covered extension. The next one I did was over on Maven Sturgis Road, which was a larger box covered extension. Road and bridge standard. And I'm here to say that I've been here 18 years. I'm a citizen here. And I have not had the opportunity to be at any work with the county anymore. So I'm here for $50,000 work. Some of these jobs I know that can be done for less than $50,000. We are bondable, we have the insurance, but we have the bid list where we can do some work here. And on the erosion control, we got some property on Longview and Oliver Jackson Road. That was a major problem some years ago. The county took care of that part. They added another cover and raised the road. The neighbor, what's happening is that problem been taken care of. But down about 1,000 feet down on our property, it's creating erosion. It has created a duck pond from here to over there. That if you're a county engineer, would go out there and meet with me and take a look at it, I believe most of the water could be faxed into the ditch. It wouldn't mean that they would have to something got to be done. That's all I'm saying. And the engineer need to look at it. And it's something, the water got to go off in the property way. So since they're working on the road out there, I think it'll be an easy time for them to look at it and get it done. And I hope to do some work for y'all again. I've been here 18 years, people. We got to eat too. And I plan to give you a few more to work it.
All right.
So thank you all.
We appreciate what you've done so far.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
Part of the project with Longview. Some of that's gonna have to be off of Oliver Jackson. We're gonna have to get onto, a private into that drainage. So yeah, it's a problem through there. Right where Oliver Jackson and Longview are at. We try to address it the best we can, but until that road's complete and, Longview Road, we don't know exactly the level yet. So we're gonna have to wait until Longview Road is done for it. And so that's what I've been told, and that's what we're doing. We gotta wait till the Longview Road project is further along to be able to address that. But I'm well aware of it. And we've done some work there. I've sent my foreman over there several times to get it to where it's at now.
Sale of 16 section land, Mr. Hill. Would you please come forward?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am John Hill. I'm the attorney for presentation to make. I've sent all of my material to Mr. Robertson. I'll be pleased to answer any questions any of the board members might have. So, as we contemplate here, there are stages that have to be followed. The first is that the Board of Trustees of this to approve the proposal. If you all approve the proposal, then it goes to the Mississippi Department, MDA, for their consideration. I assume that you all know what we're supposed to do, but in order, the state owns 16 section land. We can't sell 16 section land. Transaction takes the monies that are received from the sale of that land and buy land of at least equivalent value. And that's what is proposed to be done here. That they were proposed to, we've entered into a contract with them, that if this sale goes through, then we will take the money, $300,000 that we receive from the shell. That's what the proposal is. Again, I'll be happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability. But this has been percolating when we were first approached and started the process of getting the property appraisals done and doing our best to cross T's and dot I's and making sure that the legal requirements were met. I'm confident that they have. And then it just becomes a part of the school district to proceed. It's now before you all to determine whether we'll make policy.
You talked about buying timberland. Is that something that you can harvest the timber off of for revenue in the future?
Of harvesting timber, we would lease it to somebody who is in that business, and we have others to various vendors, and then you go through the determination of what the fair market value of that property is. They lease it from us, and then they harvest the timber. Yes.
Am I right? You have an appraisal done on the East Activity Hall School District property.
Right.
And an appraisal. You know that property to be of equal value.
I know that it's appraised to be of equal value.
It appraised to you presented to the school board, but have you presented that appraisal to us and our attorney? Both appraisals.
I don't know if, any appraisal is a thick document.
The reason why I'm asking this question is, according to the Mississippi Code 20, independent investigation, aside from what you have done, but an independent investigation. So then our board is kind of obligated to make an independent investigation before moving forward with authorizing the sale.
Anything you all want, we will be happy to provide. We'll be happy to provide to you. I intend is. I understand.
Yes, sir.
And if you don't have something you think you need,
why I made that comment is that it's the law. It's the law that our board do an independent investigation.
Sure.
Before moving forward.
Sure.
With any type of transaction and search can be done. And since I'm the president, be sure that we really have completed an independent investigation and we have answers to all the questions as such.
Sure.
As well as not.
Appraisals, because
right.
I can't tell you honestly, but I'm personally familiar with the property out on Old Maiden Schoolhouse Road. I'm not an appraiser.
When you would present that information to our
Sure.
board attorney, then I'm sure our board attorney will be collecting information so we can do anything. If you would, I don't have any additional questions, but we have a Mrs. Ellis, who I believe represents the Education Association. She might have some, of that association might have some questions for you.
And I'm sorry, quick.
Ms. Ellis to come forward, but if you haven't finished now, some of the other board members might have some questions for you, I don't know.
Question. Has every step been taken properly to legally go through with this particular arrangement as far as what the school district plans to do with the property?
Yes.
So from the citizen group, based upon what the school's intention with their property. They are well aware of that.
I'm not sure. We were told. The board members probably have more knowledge than I do. Told that the administration had met with members of the interested members. How widespread the discontent was until last Tuesday. I can't speak for what each particular board member, how knowledgeable they might have been.
The particular issue, not necessarily from the beginning, but at least try to get some more community support behind what the school district.
You're asking me now a little bit to get into policies, and I know your lawyer will tell you that lawyers don't like it. And I wrote Ms. Robertson, and I sympathize with their concerns. As to what you should or shouldn't do, what I will tell you is there's a school building out there, board member, but it's sat out there vacant for some period of time. we were presented with a proposal to move forward. I mean, at the end of the day, the school, one is taxes. We do get a lot of federal and state grants, thankfully. And we have an opportunity to lease 16 section land with making a business decision. And the business decision is you have an opportunity to sell property that is not generating any income. Has sat vacant for some period of time. And I do sympathize with the perspective of the group here. But from the school board's perspective, it's largely a business decision. The board's job is to the best of their ability, provide the resources and tools for the administration and the teachers of our school district to educate our children. And this was an opportunity to do that. The school board does solicit your support of this project, but we want you to be comfortable with your decision that you're called on to do. And we would be pleased to provide any information or answer any questions that you have that would assist you in that. Time is of the essence. We need to move forward. Either we need to move forward or we don't need to move forward. If we don't move forward with this project, we need to figure out something else because that property continues to sit there. Something else. We need to do something with that property.
Amen.
And so we have a live fish on, or somewhat time sensitive. On the other hand, we want you all to be comfortable with the decision you make. Because I'm sure some people here are going to ask you about the decision that you make, and I
do an independent investigation of this process.
It really would depend on whether or not this board's going to get it done fairly quickly, but it may not be within the timeline of the gentleman that was going to purchase it. That would be my issue. You kind of take the information that you've got, and if it's not outside the parameters of what is considered reasonable, you kind of left. You do have a situation here where there is another party involved in this, and if this other party decides, I'd be curious to know what kind of timeline. I mean, when we say we've got a certain amount of time that's available here, are we talking 2 days or are we talking 2 weeks?
I would like to hear from them, just as far as what they plan on doing with the property.
yes, I mean, that's not my call. I mean,
Are they
they are here.
Yeah, but why don't we invite them up to come and talk?
If that's okay, but if you're not comfortable, all I've heard is a name. So I would like to know what's behind, what they plan to do with the property, myself.
I'll what you want me to do.
Well, and Mr. Hill was here to floor in, if you'll come forward, a representative of Dominion Wildlife.
Wildlife Dominion, Robbie Taylor, with Wildlife Dominion, obviously. We are simply a electronics manufacturer that land management tools that people use to manage public resources, private resources. Here in the United States 6 years ago.
Can everybody hear?
No.
Could you speak up a little bit? Maybe turn a little bit toward the.
So we started 6 years. Started as a typical small business, just the two of us in a garage. 6 years. We have around 10 employees right now. We've just outgrown. We've gone from outgrown the space that we have. It just simply we need a place to manufacture our cameras. That's the that is what we're looking for. We live right there in the community. We live right out there. It's close. We wanted something. We didn't want to drive. It's like I say, it's a family business. So that's what we were looking for. It's just a place, expansion. As the business hopefully grows. We're not a big company, obviously. It's just a.
How do you see that affecting the community in that area, beneficially or negatively?
No, I mean, I would think, taking, our initial investment obviously is $300,000, and then we will double that make it, you know, put the roof on and, you know, make it into a facility that, you know, we thought it would be a great thing for the community. I mean, obviously, we have people, you know, the link, you know, pitches us on, hey, go to West Point, go to Oklahoma, let's go. You know, and honestly, it would be easier to hire, you know, in bigger cities like Starkville and West Point, but we wanted to build and invest close to home.
Any goals or aspirations?
No, sir, we just make cameras. We just manufacture electronics tapes. So there's several large trap makers that manufacture USDA and those kind of guys are our main customers. And they use these systems, kangaroos in Australia, they use those systems to eliminate nuisance species on their property where they live. We just manufacture the cameras and then
No wild animals?
no, sir, no wild animals.
So we won't have to worry about any wild animals up in the school being processed.
No, sir.
Are you aware of the concern or the interest of the community as it relates to the history and relates to some of the past things, the dynamics of, and I know you're from a business perspective, but are you familiar with that?
We did. We met association prior to, you know, I would say it was a couple of months ago, where we had a chance to kind of explain what we did, and then they had a press sort of thing, and part of that was the history of the school, and so yes, we did spend some time a couple of months ago.
Because I mean, maybe I'm just now get together and work all these issues out and have something that everybody can support. It can be really good for Occidental County. Maybe I may be a little not just.
I think some misinformation, you know, and maybe, you know, it's just it's proliferated, but and it's simply that we, you know, we thought that we would, you know, investing in you know, and provide, you know, other opportunities. That was kind of our.
When you put at that point, when you wrote that out, did you assume after your meeting with the group that would suffice the needs of what the request was from the initial meeting?
We did, and when we met with the superintendent initially in the very beginning, you know, he expressed that he had met with everyone, and one of the early requests provide a space, you know, a space dedicated to the history of the school, you know, where you could display, you know, items from the past and tear the school down, or to actually, we like the idea of it looking like a school. Like that, we think it's cool. You know, it's not our intent to do like some places and just gut it and turn it into, you know, what we want money, you know.
I'd say 300,000 is a pretty good amount of investment to fix a roof and things like that.
Yes, it is. Right, and so and the roof is a big piece of that.
I mean, as it sits now, I don't think it's been maintained like it should be. That was, you know, something I've asked the school board in the past. Do you think they may improve the property, try to clean up the property?
No doubt.
The football field's got 20-foot trees on
That's
it.
right, no doubt, we are. I mean, because it's right by, you know, it's got our name on it. We want it to look nice and, you know, people be proud of what we're doing and not, you know.
Part of
I mean, not maybe.
the land.
Yes, absolutely. To clean it up and get it back, you know. Yes.
Out that would not interfere with your business operation.
So that's what we don't know, right? Is, you know, the way it's partitioned up, right? You know, you have the roadside frontage and then the facility in the back. Don't really know what the total costs are going to be. We have a ballpark, but we don't know how much we're going to have to invest. Total, we may have enough money to fix it all that's going. And so that's been our hesitation, is to not make promises that we couldn't keep. You know, I mean, it comes in and paints a glorious picture that we can't live up to because the money You know, we're just not that big of a company. So to answer your question is we've just sort of held from, you know, committing to something that we're just not sure, you know.
If you take the property over and this all gets worked out, which hopefully it will, is that something that your insurance would have to cover fees and things like that? I mean, is that something to be thought about, or is that something you've checked with the insurance company on?
It is, I have not actually. So we just we didn't, you know, different things going on the campus. So yes, but I have not talked to the insurance. I do not know those guys.
What is your timeline to have this dealt with? If it's today, tell me it's today. If it's 2 weeks from now, tell me 2 weeks from now.
It's been a very long. You know, we've extended our option on the timberland for at least 3 times now, and you know we've held up our business basically, you know, waiting to try to see. You know, we've been at that crossroads. Do we just get it and we go just build something, or do we wait to see if this will work out? So, to answer your question, I mean, it's the other party, and you know, we would really like to wrap it up.
Well, if this is not going to work out, you want to invest somewhere else.
I do, right?
Seems like the board has 2 major responsibilities. One, to make sure that legally all the steps were followed. And it seems as your belief is to concur with the school board and their findings that this would be beneficial to the school board, the school district, the administration. My question is this: if both of those things were followed, what is the expectation? Are we expected to still continue to kill the deal? Or my question is now, if both of those things has happened, what is that? And the deal comes off the table and nothing happens and the building sits there. What is the expectation of the board, of this board, to make sure that those 2 things happen? From there, I'm asking the board.
Well, if you ask the board, it's the board's decision whether or not to move forward with the decision or to reject, accept or reject. Now, the board had to make sure that the 29.329 Mississippi Code has mentions in that code is that whether or not you have a certificate from the Mississippi Industrial and Agricultural.
The third step, we can't go to that board until you all, that's the third step.
Says that certificate should be presented to our board.
The proposed certificate, I'm sorry, the proposed certificate, consider passing that certificate until you all tell them that you have approved the deal. The proposed certificate is in the hands of your attorney.
Okay. Proposed certificate.
And that was back to my original question then. If these steps has been followed, then what's the expectation? Yeah, but my question is beyond that. My question is, if all of this board and coming from you all, what do you all expect for us to do then? Do you expect for us to? Do you expect we work hard to try and get something that's going to help the school district and educate the kids? I mean, if I's has been dotted and T's has gone.
Mr. Taylor, I really appreciate you coming forward, and I think this board appreciates you being here today. The board of our independent investigation, that we know what you plan on doing with the building.
Yes, sir.
And we know more about your company. I feel better. I don't know about the audience because I thought you were going to be working with some wildlife and processing animals and that kind of thing. But we didn't know.
That's right.
We didn't know, so that really should be part of our independent investigation, and that's what we're doing. And we have that obligation.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Montgomery for calling forward.
Thank you.
I guess the only question I have, and this is an attorney question, Mr. Hill, Rob, anything? have everything provided to us from the school board, as far as an appraisal, what do we have, are there anything before us to make a decision?
Whether you have all,
329.
yeah, whether you have all the information that you, I think everything we have, we may or may not have sent him the bound appraisals. That's the thing that I'm on, all of those things.
We do not have the thick appraisal, however, we do have the bottom line number, property. However, we were not given it's a pretty thick file. But that being said,
In my office, and I'll be happy to send it to Rob for y'all to consider. As to whether we've met all the legal requirements, it's gotta be yes. You have your own lawyer who can advise you as to whether that has or has not been done. That, again, you're called on to make an investigation, and that's your determination.
Mr. Industrial and Agricultural Board will approve that certificate. What happened in the event that they would not?
The proposal died. Three things have to happen, and they have to happen in order. The Board of Trustees of the school district have to pass a resolution approving the proposed deal. If you choose not to do that, the deal ends. It's final. That's the statutory language. Your decision is final. Then it goes to the state, to the MDA, the deal dies. It's an and. All three of those things have to happen. The first one's happened, the second one's here. So there's no appeal, it's over. If you all say yes, we go to the state. If they say no, then
In the statute, that says immediately after the transfer has taken place, that there has to be immediate action on that
the
property.
green light is given, we will pick a date. On that date, we will sell the property to Wildlife Dominion, and they will sell the major property to us.
No, I mean, after that point, after there has to be immediate action taken on the property as far as development, industrial, and things of that nature. It can't be sold and then sit there 2 or 3 years without industrial development taking place.
Yes, that's my understanding, and that's certainly, I can't speak for them, but that's my understanding of their intent, that they're gonna move to, been represented to us, which is the only thing I can tell you, that's what's been told to us.
We have a question from Dr. Conley.
Yes. Thank you. First of all, let me say that the 11th day of May 2021, that the resolution to sell 16 section land for industrial use to advertise in the local newspaper for how many times, you can say the weeks, to let the public know that there has that been advertised in the Star Daily News.
Yes.
Alright?
Yes.
Relative to 16 section land was April the 29th and May the 6th, and it has to do with agricultural lease.
It's difficult for me to argue for with you. I haven't noticed that the ads were run. You must be talking about a different, and so the Salt Daily News tells us that the notice was run. And
Me with those dates,
no, my head is no.
can you provide me with those dates?
I provided to Mr. Robinson, but the proof dates were wrong. We have one from the newspaper that says they were wrong on 3 consecutive days.
Well, I question Star Daily News specifically from were for agricultural use.
I can't.
Okay. Well, and anything that's in writing, you can believe that. Okay. So I think at this point we must establish whether that ad appeared in the Star Daily News after April.
All I can say is we ran it. We got proof of publication. I sent it to the board's attorney.
Attorney Robinson is on the back for our review.
And copies of the newspaper. I don't want the written. I want a copy of the paper.
That's right.
Okay.
Mr. Hill, if not, we're gonna move forward with, Ms. Ellis, if you ready to come forward, please. Excuse me, we need a motion to acknowledge Mr. Hill's, presentation. Attorney Hill's, presentation to the board. All in favor? Motion carries. Another motion on the table to acknowledge Mr. Robert Taylor's, presentation with Dominion Wildlife. Motion by Supervisor Howard, second by Supervisor Miller, that we acknowledge Mr. Robert Taylor's, presentation. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Have a cell phone in your possession, we ask that you put them on silent, please. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Ellis, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you all for coming. I'm Jackie Ellis. Today, after 6 years of requesting and asking of this organization, the Board of Supervisors, concerning our concerns that property is utilized for educational purposes. We have been denied equal opportunity. We have not been able to speak on our behalf regarding our proposal to the school district. We have been denied. We have approached you several years ago to assist us in assisting us. So therefore, we went back to the school district a year or so ago on April 20th, requesting that we may lease some of the property for recreation. Mr. Howard, to Mr. Williams, Ms. Miller, Mr. Montgomery, and to Mr. Trainer. And on that, we have also contacted the school district, Mr. Ed Fassant, in which he responded to me last Friday relating to Mr. Williams concerning our requests. Because we have not been acknowledged, we don't feel that this should go through. It's not accurate. And on that, we request that you cease and desist any and all sale and transfers of title. Here that I want to share with you are some questions that I'd like for you to entertain in your investigation in subsection 29.329 and the Mississippi Code ANN 2561.1 ET details involving the sale, the swap, the transfer, the procedures of the Moorhead property between the Starville of Tupac County Consolidated School District, the Board of Supervisors, voting advertisement in the time frame between October 20th board meeting to the present. Based on the resolution that Dr. Conley has referred to, a copy attached, was the code followed by law? Here's some questions. Was there an open bid to the public? In reference to said bid displayed at any public forum, namely the county courthouse and other public locations throughout the region of the state of Mississippi, provide certification of the entity that was awarded said bid to purchase. And finally, please provide a resolution, see attached herewith. And so what is transpiring here today, as citizens of this District 5, we have questions, we have concerns, and we too feel that we've been denied opportunity in that this community that we've been out there for 55 years, and not only have we just been there as residents, we have also started an organization to do so on numerous occasions, but every time we've been denied. And so today, you are at the point to thoroughly look at this, because we are thoroughly looking at action that will uphold us.
Would you, okay, I'm sure, but we do have the dates here for publication to be April the 16th, and you might write these dates down so you can get this newspaper yourself too. The publication was made on April the 16th, April the 23rd, and April the 30th. Ms. Ellis, would you feel free to come back since our board attorney is back? I really have some requests that I'd like for him to check off to make sure that we can adhere to
That paperwork to us, we received,
He has it. He
Yes,
should
ma'am,
have it.
we got it as well, so.
And in addition, like I say, I'm about to go to the school district. Dr. Passant is agreed in all fairness.
Yeah, we are checking off those items, and of course, this is one of the checkoff to that list, is the publication in newspaper. We want to make sure that we are doing our independent investigation, and that before we make any decisions, that we are adhering to the policy that goes. And I would think that you wouldn't want us to make a decision until we can be sure to say we have checked off everything. Robertson's called to us to make a recommendation that we ever adhere to all of the things that we legally should adhere to.
Thank you.
All right, let's just go through each one. This is what's the open bid.
Could you come forward?
Yes, sir.
This is our board attorney, Attorney Robinson.
All right, I'm going to go through each one of the questions to answer. So was there an open bid to the public? According to the paperwork that I brought in just a second ago, it was in the paper 3 dates. Now, we don't actually have the news. Back up here and ask him to verify the dates. He did verify that the Stronghold Daily News ran from Stronghold, from the school district. The second question is, if an open bid were the publication of an bid, or their publications, yes, then that would be tied to the same question, so yes, ma'am. Locations throughout Octavia County, Mississippi. Now that is a question that I can't answer. I don't think, I've not seen anything in our courthouse, so to my knowledge.
As I understand it, there was one, two places, 3 places. One was placed here at the Chancellor.
Oh, I did not see it, so I can't confirm that or deny it.
I can't tell you exactly
Yeah.
where they are.
Nobody brought it to me to put out.
All right.
All right, the fourth question is, did the Department of part? In other words, after we are done with this, that third part has to happen, and either they certify or don't. So if they don't certify, this will be done.
Let me inject something. On May 26th, I got an email from the superintendent indicating that in 2 weeks, that Wild Dominion would take possession. And that was our step taking place. And you're saying now it'll be after now when you vote.
Well, they haven't taken possession of it. They can't take possession of it until we vote.
Well, I'm just saying that on the 8th of April, and our concern was, what will our share be in this property? Dr. Passant said we would have something that he didn't know. So when it came, they would have some information as to how they would accommodate us. But to this day, we've made, and no one has replied to us. No one has said anything to us other than, considering the community, then we have not gotten an indication of any type of cooperation. Neither have the school district allowed us the opportunity to even speak to the school board, in which we did it in 2016 and acknowledged in any way. And so we're down to the part where they have switched in October of when they first made the first resolution with several bids, and then we met again in April, January 14th, and promised. But then the next day, the same night, the board met and the decision was made. What happened prior to, and I'm just trying to establish our position in how we feel that we have not, we never got an opportunity to be considered.
Are you saying that you want?
Bid for it or be considered in any way, that's my point. When we met with you to ask a notification from the president here, from Dr. Bassan in November, the letter that you told us to write, asking them to let us notify us that we're going with Wild Dominion. He said he never heard from us. And so when we met, came together, the decision company was under consideration. These questions here is addressing, was anyone else in the community of October Hall?
I think the position of that board at that time, my understanding, so I don't want to suggest I'm putting words in there, but they had a choice between leasing or selling.
That came up in our May. The sale was never discussed in our meeting. It was swapping that we heard about.
Well, it's a land swap, basically.
Yeah.
Conversion to industrial.
Well, the resolution that says that it will be sold. The other meetings that we had, it was in discussion about being swapped.
Swap is what you're talking about.
Well, we're just saying that our community has been denied any. So it appears that it's in the best interest from what they're saying for the students that this company do business with us.
Were y'all ever able to come up with an amount of money to put down as a lease or anything?
Sir, we never got a chance to.
I would certainly like, for Dr. Basant and the board of trustees to at least be here to defend themselves, to have an opportunity to present their side too, on this matter.
I think that's a fair, the conversations I've had with them, a private business over here that's got X amount of dollars, and you have ideas, and I think that's where they want.
I'm sorry, may I speak? I'm sorry, that's untrue. We do have investor, now is. If you're gonna lease it to us, like I spoke with Jackie, we're considering like 17 people to actually put X amount of dollars into the account to move. And then we have that opportunity to gather the money. So don't exclude us saying we don't have money, because we can work that out.
Well, I'm letting you know from their standpoint, there's a guarantee over here. They don't suggest to you that wouldn't be in the future. That's just merely what it sounded to me like.
Okay.
That being said,
but does it take you 6 years to let us know that?
well, they would say the same thing.
If the board is going to vote today, we would ask that they decease this proposal in the past 6 years. That's all we're saying.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Hill, to that comment,
I can't tell you what each member of our board knows or thinks. I go to board meetings, I go to all the board. In order for us to lease this property for recreational purposes, then there has to be an appraisal for the fair market lease value of that property for recreational purposes. There's a different statutory scheme that you have to follow to lease property for recreational purposes. The property out there by Cape County Lake, Coach Stansberry has tried to develop. It's a good example. Now, why it never came before the board, I can't answer. It never came before the board. And so, I don't know.
That was done through the Secretary of State's office with their representative, Mike Epps. So that's how that occurred.
Yeah, and so, what community, again, that's normally how that happens. I'll consider the proposal. The proposal to lease this property, in my memory, to this group never came before the board. Why it didn't, I can't answer that question. I can just answer what we did and what our process is.
If my memory is 16 land being leased for 40 years to an entity for $1,900, is that correct? Because I actually sent it to the board as well. It's been a while ago since I saw that, but I can go back to the minutes and revisit that. From my understanding, it was swapped or leased, and it was 40 years. If you're able to do that with another entity, then what's the difference in doing it for our entity?
I'm not sure what property you're talking about.
Okay, I'll find it. I'll find it.
What she's referring to. Way back years ago, 16th section property was leased for $1 an acre. But when they came in, when he got elected, they came in and reevaluated all 16th section property. The lease that he's referring to, Stansberry, before that happened, that was being leased for $2,500 a year by the wildlife dollars a year. At that point, Department of Wildlife and Fisheries said it's not worth that to us, so they pulled out. So therefore, what you're referring to was true.
Yes, sir.
Way back in the day, you could get 16th section property for 40 or 100, all that changed. 16th section property was reappraised, and different values were placed on it.
Announcements in the paper, and we had to verify that. And with that announcement, there was announced that there would have to be 20%. From a legal point of view, is it still time to get those 20% of the electors to force to run?
That there's a petition that has 20% of the voters. Is that what
I guess I'm saying, is it too late for that to last of the electors to petition the process?
I don't think it's too late for them to move forward with the vote as far as them going back there. Keep in mind that anybody's done anything fishy, it's just I have no way of verifying.
You can verify it in the newspaper.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we table this issue.
Okay.
Just before we do, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, how long is that property sat vacant? 6 years, a day, and it was in 2015.
Of course.
Excuse
Of
me.
course. They let it just go
Excuse
down.
me, we have a motion on the table. I think it's appropriate to carry, motion by Supervisor Trainer that we table, you table conversation or table any further actions.
Table the issue.
Leah, what are you talking about?
Table the issue.
Can we have some discussion on that? Usually we have discussion when we have votes and motions.
It's been motioned by, we have, and second, do we have a second to that motion? I second that motion. This issue, are there further discussions?
Yes, I do have some discussion. It was mentioned earlier, now, and this is what I'm asking. We do know that $300,000 has been spent, will be spent on purchasing at least, and correct me if I'm wrong, at least another $300,000 or $400,000 will be put into the property that's being swapped. So my question is this, and Ms. Ellis can tell you, I've had the same discussion with her. Is there a way that you can say, well, we've got donors, they've written the check and account off. Let me finish. Let me finish. I did hear you say that you have been. The question is, there's 3 different entities here. You all, the school board, and the investment people. My question is, you got somebody that's fixing to put about $500,000 or more into a location. I'd be willing to vote to hold it up. If you can show me you stand ready with $500,000 to offset this.
Okay, WILLETTE. Let me answer that this way. If we had known required from us, then yes, we would have the money ready. But 6 years ago, that was not our position. We were interested just then for so many years at a certain amount. Now, 6 years later, you got someone willing to invest $500 million, and you asked us who were planning on. We don't have that now. Could we have had that starting from 6 years ago until this date? Yes, ignored as if we never presented anything. So now you're expecting us to compete with someone who's been manufacturing electronics. Fair question. I'm sorry, it's not fair, and it's unfair to us.
Yeah, and listen, I sympathize with this, and we all are. But as a board member, I definitely don't want to be seen as killing of the. Dr. Conley has been in that position before. He know how funds work as far as trying to please speak.
We could generate the revenues from
Let me say this. What this is all about is fairness.
Okay.
You know,
And
once that's been
what
established, I'm satisfied.
Okay.
In other words, give me an equal opportunity. If I can meet the standards, fine. If I because we felt like we've been ignored. And let me say this, you know, I'm 1964 graduate of B.O.S. I taught there. I was superintendent for 20 years. I worked in the Stark School District, and okay. And as far as the county people were concerned, school district, it didn't matter. So the same attitude is prevailing here. So keep in mind, we're just here to ask for fairness. When that is established, hey, look, we're fine with move on.
Supervisor Montgomery, we have to come here.
My question was, is the property in better shape now than it was 6 years ago? And it's not. It's not.
It has period.
Correct.
But you will note that this organization has tried, and by the way, my name is Joseph Malone Redmond. Let me stop. I'm a former board member of Tippy Hall, Starksville. I was a board member of Tippy Hall County School District, 18 years. And yes, Mr. Marvell, changing the stream. When it comes to us, things change. Back in use. We worked with the supervisors. It was our hope that the supervisors felt facilities at each corner of the county where we could have educational opportunities, recreation, to house their offices part-time out in different parts of the county, so that it would equalize. Everything is centered in Starksville. There are times that I think, I'm not sure if I live in Lowndes County or Clay County, because I'm not really recognized in our Tippy Hall County. Millions. How much of it is spent in our area?
Come on now.
Lowndes County they did decide to put recreational facilities in every corner, asking that you purchase those schools. Because our tax dollars goes into your budget. And you want to know where our money is, you have our facilities. In fact, you have allowed 2 schools in Maven. I know the old Maven school just kind of failed. Well, there's that other school that's kind of new. It's still sitting there. It's just sitting there. Mr. Trainer, you're lucky. They're still using your schools. That to happen. So you ask, has it deteriorated? Yes. Purposely deteriorated. We have people that is concerned, who have needs, our children. We have young folks just kind of walking the streets. In fact, in the city have facilities that's available to our kids if they would use them. In the county, we don't have even that. And all we ask is that the supervisors would invest in it's not important to you, but it is important to me. Mr. Trainer, deserve an equal opportunity, and they have not had it. Now, you all, I know you're looking at the technicalities. Starkville School, it was not sale. Initially, they were dealing with land swap, lease. Then all of a sudden, we realized they know that this organization has been fighting for years to get that facility. They knew. And you knew because you were a part of it. No, we don't have millions. But we do have millions in the form of the Tippy Hall County supervisors who has a budget of millions. You spending it on the lake. And as I recall, we aren't even allowed to go to some parts of that area because the lady pulled a gun on. That's the situation we find ourselves in. And if it seems like I'm all out. I am. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. Regulations was written to write us out. And they always do. But you do. You control it. And you all can, if you want to, revisit, because, and what someone told me, the political climate changed. Some people you didn't want it to benefit. I'm just saying, look in your own hearts. We don't have a problem with having a company out in the county, but he's saying he can't tell whether people can come on the grounds or not, or if we can use that facility. Well, that facility was built for the children in that county, part of the county. If you don't know, let me tell you a little history. B.L. Moore, Mr. B.L. Moore, whose name was on East Octico School District, in the minutes said, if this, that school was built for us. The initial blueprints didn't even have bathrooms in it. But the truth hurts sometimes. And this is the truth. When they built the school, it was not meant for us. And now all of a sudden that same school is being taken again. It took us years to get that school. Graduated from that school. My two sons graduated from that school. And our children out in the county need. We're having enough problems with our children now. They need someplace to go. And the supervisors, you sit on millions. The hospital takes millions. Have anybody to stitch my hands? They had to use a nurse practitioner. And it took them 50 minutes to come and release me. Okay? I'm saying you do have money of purchasing those schools out in the county and to use them for the counties. Go back to that. The county children do have a facility that they can go to without having to drive to Starksville. Mr. Williams, Mr. Howard, all of you, look at what are you doing for the county? And I'm so sorry you all had to sit through this, but I needed to get it off my chest because it's the truth. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Malone-Richmond, you had a proposal that the county go back and try to purchase those schools.
That is
Dominion Wildlife, and we could still have the industrial development and tax dollars come. Recreational activities, remedial educational activities. That might work. That might work.
Look, I do understand compromise has to take place, but the organization has to also agree. But my concern is that we still got students over in Maven, and there's still a building over there. Mr. Marvell, they need a place to go.
Let me.
So it's not just east.
I've drove down to Greenwood, down in the Delta. There is a program down there that helps at-risk kids, and down there I've talked with the EMCC to try and bring a continuing education, adult education into so issues.
No, but those are the same programs we want.
That's out there. But at the end of the day, and I know you all are compassionate, the board is still governed by laws that we have to follow. The 16th section is governed by laws that were put in place, that the school board is the one that controls that they have to make decisions that's best for them. That's why that property was given to them, and I'm sure you know this already, but maybe some people don't. But that every 16th section of property was given to the school boards so that they could maintain and use. This board is still governed by law. The school board is governed by law. 16th section property is governed by law, and we're just trying to do the best we can.
Mr. Trainer has something already in his school at Alexander, so that leaves East. And we're going to, for some reason, we don't want to have educational programs for our children. That is the very program that we talked about with you all earlier.
And
Now,
understand,
let's talk about
let
what's
me
in
say
the
this,
best.
we're not just hooked on bringing those programs. We're open. Economic growth for that area, we're open to that also.
They never
So-
said they offer any jobs.
Okay. But anyway,
Yeah,
my
they-
point is, the educational program section came to this board. And I'm not gonna take up any more of your time. It's not against Dominion or whomever. It's not that. One of my sons is an attorney. So he did get a good education in Article School District. The other one is, and yes, I know we do need to make money. But you all have money. Our taxpayers.
To have before the vote carries on, and Mr. Montgomery, I think do you have anything else?
I'm good, and I guess the whole, and I remember when they property, it's not our property, it's the Board of Supervisors. And so we don't have a direct hand in the maintenance, still don't have a direct hand in the maintenance of it. And from where it was and to where it is now, into education.
But
So-
that's based on what you call in the best interest of children.
And ma'am, this is what came to us from the board of concerns. Because the school board, ma'am, is what put this in our hand.
But your vote today could send it back to the school board.
Amen.
Or your lack of.
Robert Taylor. Thank you again for being a part of this meeting. And I'm going to ask the constituents of East Octavia Hall Educational Association how sensitive you think you could be to that. I know you house
That could be a picture. A
to
space.
house historical items. But I'm thinking, they're thinking that space could be, I think they want something more than that. So I guess I'm asking, how sensitive could you be to that? My vote to table, or my second to table, doesn't mean that we are cutting you out. It's just a motion before we move forward. That's my thinking when I say I second the supervisor trainer motion. So, do you want to speak to that, Annie, in terms of your sensitivity?
This is good. It's just, I think that our purpose for the facility and what they would like to, with the lecturer, we're making deliveries, we're shipping, we're building, we have, hazardous, stuff on site. We're not real sure, right, how the insurance implications are. We really, like I said, we're just a small discussion. It's just that I just don't know if there's
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Taylor, they had discussed a few minutes ago, and this is just me trying to figure out a way through this. They had discussed a while ago that they were willing to lease some property from the school district. Would you be, I have no idea what y'all are up to or what you want to do, but would y'all be interested in leasing a portion of it that is a business decision for your company? Because I understand you're not in the charitable organizational business, you're in running your business. From arm's length transaction, that you could split this off to where your insurance was not harmed for what you wanted to do, but they would also have the action, not just a question mark in the sky, because what I'm thinking you're looking at is, how am I going to go and fix this stuff up, and I have no money coming in to cover whatever expense. Would there be any room for that in this location? I don't know if there would be, but as we're sitting here talking about this is something I think that they could consider. Right.
we have wildly ranging cost estimates on a lot of it. So, we are open to it down the road, but at this point, we just don't know, are we gonna, it's gonna be easy, and we're gonna, the main building, we're gonna finance the house, just getting our business space going, and then everything else is just gonna have to, drag.
You need to be able to plug in, figure out what your certainty is as to what you're going to have to spend.
This is not a, it's
sort of, I understand you. And I'm not trying to put you in a corner here, I'm just trying to figure out if there is where there could be some kind of a partnership and they could be able to put some of the expenses in to help maintain, trying to find a way through this that would make sense for you as a business person and would make sense for them as a community. Thank you.
I think I might want to emphasize the fact that most deals are made ahead of time, agreement, because I think East Activity Hall Education Association realized that you will own that property. It will be a little late to make a decision about what part of the property they can use.
Exactly.
And I think that's their concern today, is maybe some action has been made. So after it has been made, you really don't have an obligation. So we have a motion to table now, so if any other supervisors.
But I want to get a clear understanding, because I don't, am I correct?
That's correct.
You all want a place so that you can have, educational, so to be totally clear about this, you all want an area that you can have full-blown,
Correct.
have items and hazardous materials there that he's not going to be able to allow full access to. Automatically, we this far apart.
Amen.
I mean, and I don't really see where that
Can be a conducive relationship.
just to be straightforward, that says we've got to make a decision. And so,
But there is a lot of land out there. Businessmen have decided who wants to do that. But where there's a will, there is a way that people can.
part of that I'm hearing is time is of the essence. There's a timeline here that we've got to deal with. So you say, okay, we're gonna motion to table this and just let it hang out there for ever and ever. We've got to make a decision. I mean, that's what it boils down. How much time we've got, and that's why I hadn't seconded this motion to table. But it's also not fair to Mr. Taylor to keep him hanging, and it's not fair to the school board to keep this thing in limbo. So me as a board member.
When I was superintendent, if we wanted to purchase, let's say, computers, for example, we would advertise the specs and have an opportunity to purchase these computers. So to me, the school board should set up the specs, and as they relate to this, and that's fair to everybody. You have specifications, and either you can meet them or you can't.
Okay, we just need to get additional information so we can move forward. And I must say too that we do know that the Department of Justice is trying this activity.
Yes, they are.
And they did say that they would continue to remediate and try to come up with a workable solution for East Activity Hall and Dominion Wildlife, I believe. So we had a motion by Supervisor Trainer to table. Doctor, we're going to recognize one minute.
I understand a lot of people see it, you heard how we see it. You got 3 buildings out there, shut, lock and keys. So I understand we compromise, we work it out. That is our school. I went there 1960, first time, walking down the hallway. We got finished space, we worked this out. We know children, we're adults, we know how to work this out. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. So we'll move on with the motion if we don't have any other.
I'm not gonna vote to approve tabling without any timeline. I've got to have a timeline in place because it's fair to all 3 people.
Well, we have to carry this motion and then you have to do your motion later. So do you would you do an amendment to your motion for a timeline? Or you want to continue with the motion as is?
Continue with the motion.
Continue with the motion as is. So, all in favor? Okay,
And we establish, well, I need to, Mr. Taylor, what time frame are you looking at that you need to move forward with?
We hope to wrap it up today, obviously. 2 weeks is probably about all the time we have left with the other.
Motion that all three parties involved by July 6th, vote takes place, either to move forward or kill the deal. So my motion is by July 6th that we vote.
By Supervisor Trainer, that we do table until July the 6th. And on July the 6th, we'll make a decision about how we're gonna move forward. I'm gonna make one statement, and that is the Justice Department is agreed 20, if you're from the Justice Department, then that will be a recommendation. But if not, we move forward with July.
What are they addressing? Let me make sure that I've got myself ready for
But you, yeah.
So they're just coming to find out what you were asking about, is that?
We contacted them because, like we said earlier, that we felt like we had been overlooked for 6 years. And the Department of Justice, and we have someone who's working with us and willing to, do whatever we need to do to make sure that this is done equally.
Understand that the Justice Department is not the enforcement department.
That's right.
They're not the enforcement department, civil rights enforcement. Their role is to work it out so it will not get to the civil rights enforcement department. So Mr. Atkinson, Walter Atkinson has agreed to, for that to happen. So we'll know how to resolve or mediate, how we can mediate the concerns that we have.
And is it possible that we can, because it's kind of hard, just a blueprint. You really need to visualize what it is that we're looking to do.
And that's between you and
the board.
Mr. Atkinson. I would have to agree with that, but you have to communicate with Mr. Atkinson as to whether or not you can meet him at that location.
Oh yes,
A good idea to move forward without his presentation. And I want to say too that from my communication with Mr. Atkinson is he wants to resolve this issue. He wants to work it out. He wants to be the mediator. He wants to have a workable solution. It seems as if, of course, I'm gonna go forward with your motion mediator in this situation. I tried to get him to come on the 6th. But he said
The Justice Department, so I'm clear, the Justice Department would come if he feels like, or if they feel like, at this particular time, I guess there is some feelings that your civil rights have been violated through this.
I think what we might want to emphasize, however, is we don't want to go that far. We don't want to go that far, and that's what Mr. A.
Yes, sir.
With the Justice Department. He's not the enforcement division, the Civil Rights Enforcement Division. What you don't want it to get to that point, be the one to do that.
Yes, sir.
So he's just gonna give suggestions and.
What does the Justice Department have to do with the sale and lease on land transaction of 16th section? The feeling is that the Mohawk community, being a predominantly black community, is property will be sold. Maybe I can see that.
That's it, sir.
Trying to be fair with all parties involved. Mr. Taylor has said he has about 2 weeks with this offer that he's made to then he don't have an opportunity to move
But we've been
forward.
trying for 6 years. That's what we're saying.
I'm
We've
not-
been ignored. 6 years is a long time in comparison to 2 weeks. I understand money is money. My degree is in finance. I understand that. But however, 6 years is a very...
To everybody who spoke. But I did hear from Ms. Redmond that it sort of came back around to that sort of the expectations is for the Board of Supervisors to move forward and purchase this property. I don't want to get too far into the weeds. I do, last board meeting, I was contacted by some of you all. But for all parties involved, I'm just not going to continue to string this out because I creed all color.
Exactly.
It raised creed all color.
Yes, sir.
I'm here to be fair, and that's what I'm intending to do.
And that's why we asked for 6 years to be fair.
Motion by concern, East Activity Hall until July the 6th.
Yes, sir.
All in favor? Let's move forward then. We move forward with
Thank you
our
all
agenda.
for being patient.
Well, let's move forward. Addressing issues, Albert Road.
Represent Albert Road, but I do have, as told the gentleman, they've been so kind to come this morning, and they just want to make a quick presentation, so if this issue ever comes back up before the board.
One of these streets.
Thank you.
What happened? Into Albert Road, the address, everything in the county by the national standard. Odds are on one side, evens are on the other. Somehow the residents picked up, well, she was using 528 that whole time. That causes problems, but we knew that. We let her keep 528 because she'd been using it for 10 years. It didn't cause any problems to our addressing standard. It fit, the numbers stayed in order. 32 is using 507. Not even using the right address. The lady
confused me already.
it gets confusing. The lady that lives in one of these two, her using 502 put her on a different piece of property by our records. I mean, you tell me you live at 502 and I go to 502, I have it right here. Now she was going to, I don't know, it's pretty apparent that they're not. It's pretty apparent that odds are on one side and evens are on the other. And we just want to work it out. Here, Bill, she says 502 and Jennifer says.
And we're talking about 511 is the one.
I'm not sure which one
It's
she
the
lives in.
majority of the people that are on, there's two on the.
Well, not just that, the ambulance had to find them.
Correct.
They wouldn't know.
Right. This is really not honest. This is honestly an emergency management issue, not a solid waste issue.
Right, but we are having that choice to solve her problem as far as the solid waste.
One example is the fixing hers is we had a mobile home sitting right here that was 530-35. She had been the whole time. Now she is Mrs. Hill's niece, maybe?
Yes, I believe.
I believe it's her niece. Now she was really problem for very much longer. She's got her own address. She knew that this was 608, so everything trash-wise, that's the exact same thing we need over here. It's her to quit using 502, and them to use the correct address as well.
And then we would follow suit once she came in.
Yeah, I mean, it would make her life.
Because they're using the wrong addresses. They're coming in and telling me they live at 528 when they really live at 531. And so therefore their balances are incorrect based on their decision because this is what they're saying they live at, and there's 3 people paying this address when there's.
And we had tried to approach this 6, 8 months ago. I mean, we've talked to these people before. She called me back, I think, Thursday. Well, after I got off the phone with her, I talked to her. And then the lady called Orlando and got on your agenda. So we came to help her. I mean, that's all we want, to make sure everything's right.
So the rub is in 511 and 531.
And I think they're using the wrong address.
It's these.
These two we got straightened out. These two are good.
So these two over here,
That's right. These two are
okay, this one and.
So they're coming in and saying it's 511, and they'll tell you.
One of them's using 502, and then I don't know what they're using for the other one.
Let me ask you this, at the postal service, will somebody have to go up and change addresses and stuff at the post office?
She's using 502. She's using 531.
See, they're paying on this one. This one looks good.
Everybody she knows that mails her a letter that my address is really 531. It's not that hard. It's not like, we would make 502 go away eventually, since there is.
So I'm gonna say, this is my house.
Mailboxes are all lined up on one post.
And they're all paying on their bills for the trash.
Right, they're not.
They're not current, but they're paying on their bills. All of them, they're paying, when they come in, it's confusing because they're paying them wrong.
Yeah.
I just think we make a board order to say that we support them using the right addresses. Is that okay with you?
Well, I mean, at this point, it's all
Maybe
you
to
do.
show up.
I'll talk with her again, and if she decides she wants to take that, that'd be great, that'd be the end of the issue. But if she decides she won't come to the board, and of course, you already had information, it'll be an easy decision because they presented the information, support their perspective. What she needs to do is identify which one of those homes that she lives in, you would rather.
She just needs to copy one of these, and surely
And then to come
that,
see.
every address verification you need is in that document. No matter which one you live in. That's all we had.
Okay, thank you.
Let's get out of here.
I make a motion to acknowledge, the report for Albert Rose.
Second that.
Motion for that supervisor.
Thank you, I appreciate y'all.
Be more like that today.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Project update, Mr. Pritchard.
Y'all ready to talk roads and bridges?
Yes, sir.
Always.
All right, I got several things. County engineers met on the coast last week also. We have a few updates there, but go through a few things with you briefly here. There's gonna be a second round of BRF funds. This funding is only $89 million. The first round of funds was on the order of $200 million. This round of funding is coming through the feds, so it's going to invoke all your federal right-of-way environmental requirements. And priority is going to be given to shovel-ready products. In other words, products that we have right-of-way secured, environmental clearances done, or we don't need right-of-way. In the last round, ready for Crawford Bridge, south of Chapel Hill, a bridge on Sherman Road out in the Morgantown area, the big bridge at Morgantown that's in the curve, and Sturgis West Point Road. So they're all going to give us a month to put these applications together. So I need some direction from the board pretty soon as to which ones of these you might want us to pursue in the next round.
Before we even begin discussion, none of them are in my district, so I'm asking, as a fair assessment, which one's needed the most, in your opinion?
John, I don't think it's necessarily what's needed the most this time as to which one might likely be
The best candidate, too.
the best candidate.
Correct.
And I say that no disrespect. We got a big bridge in Morgantown there that we put in. It was over $1 million something last time.
But that's gonna require a realignment and new right-of-way and all the environmental stuff, so I don't know that that's a good candidate. So honestly, I think it's between the other two.
Which one has a lower sufficiency rate? Or do they use that approach?
I believe it's one, I don't have those numbers in front of me, but I believe it's the Crawford Bridge is south of Chapel Hill.
And how many of these do you think we can do with the blending we're looking at?
200 million before, got roughly 202 bridges rebuilt. Cost have escalated. You know, we were fortunate not to go to get 4, so this off we got a couple.
I definitely want to go and consider the Crawford Road Bridge. I think that we can get right away what we need. That's a major thoroughfare, so if it was, maybe it come in and close or whatever like that.
I can get those efficiency ratings back to you. I can pull those and give them to you so you'll have a little more information there.
Give us some information about the status on the Harris Road Bridge and how it fits in to those funds.
Harris right now is programmed as an LSVP project, so it's not been approached as a ERBR project. Harold Road, we've done preliminary plans on that, they're at state aid now. The Harris Bridge, we've done the survey work, we're putting those initial plans together. So it is currently funded as LSVP. Hickory Grove Bridge box is currently under construction. We've got a notice to proceed on it now. Blackjack, the miracle with Blackjack is starting to happen. Thank goodness.
It's to slide across the field now.
Yeah, I think the last payout we signed, we're somewhere around 69%. Burns is ahead of schedule on the days, which is amazing.
The project's 69% done?
About 69% done.
Wow. Good.
Well, we got soil cement done, curb and gutter going.
Yeah, it's good because that road has its own Facebook page. I don't know if y'all know that or not, but
curb and gutter's going down now, crushed stones down, so you know your next big thing you're gonna see is asphalt going down. So we're working our way through that.
That's why there's a football field in places.
There was a little bit of money left on Silver Ridge ERBR project and on Sun Creek ERBR project. Good news is your original contract, your MOU said those monies had to be returned. MDOT has reversed their stance on that. They'd like for you to spend it. So there's an opportunity there maybe to add some guardrail or some bridge and paving. I spoke with Jeff Ely with MDOT, you know, over the meeting last week. They were actually there. We can spend it on that route. There's a little bit of logistic problem in that we've already found the contractor out being NL Carson. So I'm talking to Jeff now. Do we just get proposals for that new work? Do I have to get 2 proposals? Can I just get something in front of him? But then Supervisor Miller, you got about 15,000 or so left on yours. Supervisor Howard, about 24,000 on yours. So it might do guardrail, might do bridge in. If you got something particular you want done, I need to know.
so we can, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. So, but it has to be used on that bridge or that route. So in other words, John's bridge that doesn't have any money, we can't use to help put rails
I
on
asked the
his.
question specifically, could they be transferred to another project? Answer was no. I asked the question specifically, could we reimburse state aid or county monies with it that had been spent? Answer was no. The money has to be spent on that route. And it doesn't necessarily have to be spent on that bridge. So they're really good candidates for guardrail.
I'm fine with that.
Guardrail turned into a whole other issue. I could do a whole meeting on it, but restoring guardrail to older bridges has gotten to be really problematic.
That's what I was going to ask, is where's that going to leave us? What are you putting up guardrails or restoring them? What's the better legal?
There's Atwood came in and did a presentation during the meeting. The problem is there's been at least one big lawsuit where guardrail was restored in a prior condition on the bridge. That condition is not the current standard. attorneys won the lawsuit, said you should have known better, you should have put up new rail, you should have done this and this. So they're refusing to do it right now until we get some legal clarification. They're working to the legislature to try to get some language, some protection in that, Rob. But right now, your option is, number one, there's a company in Memphis that seems like they'll come do it. Or number two is there's a few avenues where you can buy the materials to put back on these old bridges and the county install it. Okay?
Todd, what would you prefer if they're gonna legislatively mandate something? What would you prefer to be the best interest of the counties?
You know, I didn't stay at the Holiday Inn last night. But the county needs some protection, Rob, in restoring things back to existing conditions and or better. Okay? And that's what's happened is the legal case tried to hold them to a higher standard, and a lot of these old bridges won't even accept the higher standard. I mean, you'd literally be in a position of having to replace the bridge to put the guardrail back. So that's what they need. They need some protection to go back in a as-is or better position. Okay? Moving on, we addressed the final comments for state aid on the poorhouse reclamation rehab. We went back and forth about 2 weeks about the title of the project and labeling some crushed stone. Those are back in state aid's hands. I expect to get permission to advertise anytime.
On what?
On the poorhouse.
Can we hold up on that just a little bit? I was gonna have Rob's looking at that. And I also wanted to hold up a little bit, guys, to see if prices come down. Can we please, we won't get it done this year. Board, I ask that we hold up on that just a little bit. Okay. So we will let you know.
Yeah, the last step for me would be to come back to ask for permission to advertise. Okay. And that'll be y'all's decision. Right. I will see if it holds up, as I've told you before, indefinitely, we're gonna want to get reimbursed.
Well, I understand that Clyde.
I want to look over the contract, but I wanted to get with you because there's some things that I don't understand within the contracts themselves. And I know you ain't taking knuckleheads in to explain contracts to them, but some of this wording is got me off into some language that I don't understand. And it's the engineering jargon. So I won't put you on the spot on it.
I mean, what you're looking at is a standard state aid contract that they've used for years and years.
We'll get together.
And it hasn't been any changes since the one that you brought here, and Miss Emily put in my box that I gave to Rob, right?
Do what?
You haven't made any changes to the
We've
contract?
made some very minor changes, being carried this out 2 decimal places, labeled the crushed in size 610 crushed in or not, crushed limestone, very, very minor stuff. Is $1,618,150. $1,618,150. That's the estimate that was forwarded to state aid. Now, they are amending estimates daily. County engineers across the board were bidding stuff last week, said all the bids coming in 30-35% high. And that's pretty much recognized all over the run. So that's our estimate right now. Who knows about tomorrow?
So how much money do we have this week?
No, I saved state aid for your road to cover that. So we got the $1 million from the state.
But now how is that going to impact us next year when we try to go to legislation and get some money when we haven't spent the money they gave us this year?
I'm not saying we're not going to bid it out. I just wanted to wait until we see all of the details.
But that's going to throw the whole request in limbo, because we need to be having requests in play here. And I think we need to move ahead with what we got. Because how can we get more if we haven't spent what we have?
How can you say we haven't spent it?
Because what you're saying is hold up the project. We need to go ahead and move forward and get it spent. I mean, that was our whole intent of getting the money so we can spend it. We can't control the cost.
I agree with that.
But we need to go ahead and move on it. Because
But it's the district's money too that's going with it, so I'm just asking that you be patient while we get all the details worked out.
What are your concerns?
He's just gonna look over the stuff, and the costs are now, inflation costs are now coming down. Some, if you looked at the oil and things like that, they had spiked. And so to make sure that we do have enough money, we can't get it done this summer anyway. we would have to start on it next year. So if we waited a month even to see if prices continue to come down, that's all I was asking the board to do, is let Rob look over the documents and to please be patient on the timeline. So when we do get ready to bid it out, they're not gonna start it this year anyway. So that's what I was asking.
I don't think a month would.
I don't know what it'll be. Supervisor Howard, can we let Attorney Robertson look over the paperwork first, please?
I thought it was an urgent need, that's why we asked for the money. I mean, we could have asked for the money in another district. They could have spent the money. And we're not gonna spend it on what we request for. And then in lieu of that, we got the other deal with the federal project that's going to impact that area too. So, I mean, we may be kind of getting a little ahead of ourselves with some of the stuff. We're not ready to move forward with it. But that is my thing.
Question, maybe Sturgis Road.
I'm coming. Back to Poorhouse. Any other questions?
No, because he's got to come back and ask for a bid anyway. I'm just letting y'all know my thoughts on it, but.
Any other questions about Poorhouse? I anticipate being able to ask for authority to advertise any day. I mean, we're down to that last one, so it'll be your decision whether to advertise it or not. All right, y'all would ask me.
Just before you move, Rob, how long would it take you to look over with?
Not long. If he gets me on track, I'll be pretty good. I can do it whatever information y'all need, I can get it together with. But some of this stuff is gonna be dependent on Clyde. Let us get together, let me understand what I'm looking at.
I'm here. I'm good. All right, y'all would ask me to program some work upcoming.
I am gonna be out of town next week, so I do want to be clear that Thursday I'm leaving to go out of town, so I don't want y'all to be unaware of that.
Do it tomorrow. You ready?
Did you do it?
I got a doctor's
Yeah.
appointment tomorrow. I'm not dying.
All right, y'all was asking me to work up program documents for some more state aid work. And I've got 3 of those done. Some of them we're still working on, but we've got 3 done, and I'll just handle them individually here. John, since you asked, I've got a program document for Maven Sturgis. Okay. And this is for total project cost, including engineering, $949,132.80. $949,132.80. Of that, John, we're obligating, based on the last spreadsheet Miss Emily had sent me on your state aid money, I was obligating $413,036 of state aid money. The balance is county funds. Okay, so I've signatured that. What's the pleasure of the board? I'll make the signature.
Move forward.
Second.
Excuse me.
And Sharon, I guess I gotta get them stamped.
Appreciate it.
All right, I'll move next to Maven Bell.
We didn't get a motion.
A motion by.
We didn't get a motion.
Trainer.
But would you clear that up about how much of that gonna be state aid and how much of that gonna be district?
Yeah, this is the only project that District 1 will get done.
The sticky, my notes are on the top front of that.
Get other stuff done, there's no money falling out of the sky for District 1.
We just actually repeat those figures, please.
Yeah, the total project cost for the program is $949,132.80. State aid contributions, $413,036. That leaves you a county contribution of $536,096.80. That should match what you get on your sticky on the front. Okay?
So we have a motion to program, to move forward with program by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Montgomery. Any additional questions? All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Next one I got for you is Maven Bell Road. This provides for repair and reseal on roughly 8.1 miles, beginning in Maven city limits, Central going to 389. We've got a total project cost of $596,064. State aid contribution, $434,258. Leaves a county fund of $162,000. District funds.
Move forward.
That's Maven Sturgis.
That is Maven Bell.
Maven Bill, that's you, this one. Okay. I have a motion to move forward with Maven Bell by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Howard. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0, Maven Bell.
All right, the third one I have ready for you is Octot. That's a base repair and overlay, striping, rail. I have total project cost, including engineering, $1,863,703. $1 million of that is being provided through Senate bill grant. I've got a state aid contribution, $434,258. Leaves a county or district funding, $429,445.
So you are programmed, that doesn't mean that you're advertising yet.
That's correct. All the program do is allow state aid to review the funds, assign a project number, return to us loose to do the engineering.
Will we move forward?
And then we move forward.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Montgomery, that we move forward with programming Octot Road. All in favor?
Have you got one just like that?
5-0.
For Poorhouse Road, with a little sticky on it?
Poorhouse.
Yeah. So you know it's $1 million from the whatever and then state aid?
I've got the notes in my file. I don't know that I've got one of those.
Can you get me one of those?
You want the old one or the new one?
The newest one with the sticky on it.
The newest, I'll see if I can get you a new one with a sticky on it.
You can just give it to Rob
Okay.
when you meet with him
That's fine.
with the sticky on it.
This is much more than we thought it would be for Octot Road. Have you looked at this in terms of what areas that we could cut back on?
I have
You
not.
know, there are some real recommendations. If that's in this,
That's in that estimate. We had an estimate at one time that was even above that for a 2-inch overlay. We cut that back to 1.5 inches. So we cut that a little bit now. So we're also in a market, as Supervisor Miller said, that it's spiked here as of late.
well, we haven't advertised yet.
We haven't advertised. All that says is we can go to work. We'll, state aid will begin, we'll assign it a project number, that'll release us to begin engineering. And in the course of engineering, you'll be getting a revised estimate.
Hey, on mine, on Maven Sturgis, and I do apologize, is this a full depth reclaim here?
No. No, that begins at the district line, goes to 182, and that's generally base repair, overlay, leveling, and reseal.
Can I say something? And I hate to say it like this, but I've been, and other people in my district have been a little bit dissatisfied with some of the past overlay work. It doesn't have the same feel. For instance, Brown Road went from a gravel road to a paved road. Went on it this weekend, it's smooth. You know, it's got that soil cement in it. And I think the longevity of a road is that it is smooth, that you don't have the axles, you know, with the secondary, you know, it damages the roads.
I won't disagree with you at all, John, but I will say you gave.
And we can do that, that's why I want us to move forward with our road maintenance project. And you'll have some additional money to do that.
Well, I think before we open that, you know, pot of worms, I hate to say it like that, I need to get with you. It's just, you know, I hate to say it, District 1, they're just hardworking, tax-paying people. We pay about 28 to 30% of the tax dollar in the county, and we don't get it. You know what I mean? There's no manna from heaven. in my district, I know it's unpopular to raise taxes, period. So we'll just have to do the best we can with it. But I'd like some consideration, Clyde, when that project's done, to get it as smooth as possible. Because that's the whole problem all along right now with Major Sturgis Road. Is the fact that it's bumpy. It's got base failures.
We've rode it 10 times in the last 2 weeks. I will remind you, when you and I had the conversation, it's going to require some county assistance on some slopes, or we don't have shoulders that we need to build out.
We're fine. I talked to Mr. Baggett, they can do that part of it. But I would like to hope that it doesn't look like some of the other overlay that little contractors have done, and I know you fought with them as well, to be fair. But I'll need to look at that with you a little bit further, before they just kick off.
Sure. All right, that's my 3 program documents. I guess y'all are moving or not moving forward on the hot top, or did you vote on this?
We got a motion.
Yeah, we have a motion. Got a motion to move forward. I think, who motioned first? Second, first by, motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Montgomery. Move forward with program and opt-out.
Correct.
All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
All right. Most are aware that here a while back we tried to solicit unit prices for work on the county on soil, cement, and paving, and this and that. We essentially got one bid for reclamation. A lot of the items were not even bid. That's totally at the feet of the market right now. Our suppliers cannot forecast what costs are going to be 6 months down the road, or much less for a year. So, and we contacted all of them. I mean, that includes paint, that's cement, that's asphalt, that's whole 9 yards. That said, Miss Emily informed me that y'all have 3.41 miles of soil cement ready to do, or will soon be ready to do. That's on Camps Airport, Harold, and Theotis. I believe we could advertise that as a small project, so that they know I've got this many miles to do, I'm gonna be able to do it this soon and get you a price. And just, we're happy to do that. What's the board's pleasure?
I move forward.
Second.
A motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor.
Soil cement on those 3 projects. Will not include the chip seal, will not include the, strictly be the soil cement application.
Can I, one little thing, and I'm not gonna hold this up at all, okay? Question. We do projects like this. Is there any way, and I was just riding back from the coast thinking, on the rising prices, is there any way to kind of combat that on our end? Could we get with other counties, other entities, be it the city, whatever, and try to latch on to other, like I said, the city of Starkville. I see Falcon Construction right now inside the city. Clay County may have something. Lowndes certainly probably has, or is that just a no-go?
I'm not gonna say
you see what I'm saying? To make it a bigger project, but at the same time, I also understand. I'm just saying Falcon, right? Because I saw the name.
Well, they're right back here.
Right. Well, I picked my agenda up and I saw them. I understand there's a capacity for any company. I can't go to Knoxville, Clay, Lowndes, Winston. You know what I mean?
Correct.
But if I had a bigger project to put on the table with other entities, be it Starkville, Columbus, whoever, would that make any kind of sense to bunch that together to try to get a little better price?
I'm not going to say there's not an opportunity there. Traditionally, for whatever reason, we've not, I'll just use it for an example, we've not talked to Bob Calvert in Clay County or Kevin Stafford in Lowndes County on a regular basis to see what do you guys got coming up. Is there opportunity to collaborate? I know our former commissioner here, Mr. Taggart, But your funding source has got a lot to do with that too, because you can't necessarily blend sources if they're getting grant money for this, or federal money for that, or state for that. Sometimes that restricts it. If it's strictly county monies, I don't know why you couldn't. You know, asphalt is kind of a hard deal around here, because facts are facts. We've got Falcon and we've got Apex.
Have we ever looked at the difference in the prices in the counties? And the reason I'm asking this is, you know, this year it went from 65,000 to 109,000 soil cement per mile. That's a huge jump. And last year it even went up a little bit, and I put it out there, and another supervisor in an adjacent county, I said ours went up, and he said ours went down. So have we ever looked at other counties surrounding and why their soil cement bids, you know, in comparison to that?
They're not because it's done on a depth and a rate of application. If you've got a county that has better soil, then your application rate might be 6% on cement. If you've got Iowa's that's typically a worse material, it may be 8%. That's raw cement per square yard that's going in, so one could cost more money. The other is the condition of sand when they get there and the width. Some folks are doing 20 foot wide, some are doing 22 foot wide, so you know, you just need to really look at that closely. I wouldn't use this year's bid as a benchmark. Year after year after year after year, going up on our soil cement cost. I can remember vaguely we started out at around 42,000 miles, something way back. Some of our last was at 63, 65. I agree with John wholeheartedly. I still, heart of hearts, y'all get the biggest bang for your buck on soil cement, because you don't have to generally go back to those roads once we've done.
I'm not saying not use soil cement, I'm just asking, you know, just simply because I put that out there and another supervisor from another county.
Since we've got more construction, you've got cans and stone. We're reaching out now. There's a company in Corinth actually working on a lumber mill that we're working on up there now. Pittman has brought some mixers. We've encouraged Burns on occasion to think about getting in the mixing business. So, you know, we've got both of that.
Well, speaking of that, basically, all that we need, put it in yourself.
There was one burned up on Blackjack a few weeks ago. You could have got pretty cheap.
But I know that was the biggest part of it.
That's the biggest deal. Your state aid actually requires you to have 2 mixers on the job, just in the event, you know, in the event one goes down. Traditionally, when we've had Larry Griffin or Morton or some of these guys in there, they can do most of our jobs with 1 mixer. You know, if we get caught, it's really no big deal when we come back.
Because I'm assuming getting the cement set up is no different than getting the emulsion set up when you get ready to pave.
It's just not. And I'll go back to Blackjack again. We had an issue last 2 weeks ago, I'll say now, where Kimes was ready to come in and do the mixing. Burns was ready for them. They couldn't find cement in the southeast. And then when they found the cement, we couldn't find trucks. Somebody took it in there. So we got delayed about 10 days on soil cement just because we couldn't get the stuff. That's the market we're in right now. So that's really all I have for you. Any other questions for us?
Let's take that vote, and then I was going to ask about long.
Yeah, me too. We've got some complaints on that. Imagine that.
Before we vote on. Well, we did,
on those 3 projects for the project.
His road, well, it was,
Camps Airport, Harold, and Theodore.
We were ready for those 3 projects.
Oh, you mean on the soil cement?
Soil cement for.
Advertise for soil cement.
Advertise for soil cement, second, so we don't have to vote. All in favor? Okay. Motion carried. 5-0.
now we'll keep long as you vote on, we'll save it for.
And I believe we'll get more than one bid.
I'm hopeful that if we have a time frame and we tell them how many miles we're doing and where they are, that we'll get more than one bid. That's my intent. I do have one other item about the.
Before you do that, I don't know if I heard, when is Harold Road Bridge going to be ready to go for bid?
Harold Road is at state aid office review now, which it's been over there a couple of weeks. We'll get those comments back, and all they'll usually take us a week, 10 days to address them and send them back. So hopefully in August, maybe. Okay. Mr. Dillon, I believe you prompted this one. This is a permit for water crossing on Crawford Road from Chapel Hill Water Association.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There's a road bore, I believe,
That's
there's
correct.
open cut, or what is this?
No, this is a board.
A road bore.
Yes.
Approval for a road bore on Chapel Hill Road.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Montgomery, all in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Pritchard, now, you do have some other ones that you're working on in relation to these.
That's correct.
Okay, good. So
I've
once
got
you get
yours
those-
on Crawford Road, I've got County Line Road, I've got a couple others that y'all had asked me to program that I'm still working on.
Okay, on the ERVR project, what do we need to do on that?
I just need to report back to y'all on those sufficiency ratings, and by next meeting or so, y'all give me some direction on which applications you want to put in.
What's the road board, what road is that for?
That's on Crawford Road.
Thank you.
Okay, next.
Longview Road.
Okay.
There's a daycare on Longview Road.
What?
A daycare.
Okay.
Apparently they're trying to do business. And they have people's children that are dropped off, and then they go back to get their children, and both ends of the roads are blocked, and people cannot get in to get their children. How can we resolve this?
I'll speak to Phillips about it. I mean, I'm going through it at least twice a week right now.
Yeah, I went through yesterday and you couldn't get through from the.
And people are getting out of the car and trying to walk to the daycare. It's on, even though I'm getting tagged in it, it's on Supervisor Montgomery's side of the road. But I'm getting the special honors on social media for it.
Well, we'll speak to them, but right now I'm just asking for a little patience. We have had about 10 inches of rain in the last 2 weeks. It's been kind of hard.
And I see what happened is they put some dirt out, they're trying to pack it, and I'm sure the bottom fell out.
It did.
So red dirt, fresh unpacked red dirt about that deep.
They got caught.
I'm sure you could have a tractor pull them.
But I'll address it. We'll talk.
Can y'all talk to the daycare and see how you can work this out with them too? I'm not sure what the address is. I don't even know.
We can get folks in and out of Blackjack. We'll handle the daycare.
Oh, okay.
So if we can get folks in and out of Blackjack, we'll handle the daycare. We won't.
Where's it to church? You can't get there. So I'm saying you have to come all the way around Bluefield.
They said on Friday they couldn't get there either direction. It was blocked both ways. That they tried to go pick up their children, they had to get out of the car and walk.
Well, you can get around the barricade on the 25 side, but the 12 side, it was fully barricaded, and I was in a 2-wheel drive truck, and I couldn't get within a half a mile. Well, a quarter of a mile.
If you will talk to them about.
I really didn't know we had a daycare.
I didn't either until, but we do.
Been there for a while.
Not at the church, no.
No, I'm talking about the daycare.
Oh.
Next.
Yeah, Mr. Pritchard, are you comfortable enough with the issue with Pickering and Associates and the raise grant to review that application before it's submitted? Since you're the county engineer, and I'm sure you're familiar with every aspect of county roads and the county itself.
Well, I know your county roads pretty well, but I'm tell you now, I know nothing about the Pickering project and application.
Speaking of that, could you get him the copy on
Would you be uncomfortable with reviewing that application for some type of recommendation?
Well, they hadn't said anything.
Well, the last one you forwarded to Emily and she forwarded to me, but could you, I'm sure that was going on by this week. Thank you.
Would you be comfortable with reviewing that application before it's submitted? And make some possible recommendations?
I don't have any issue with reviewing the application on behalf of the county.
On behalf of the county?
I won't get involved in Pickering's engineering or design or how they're approaching that.
Right.
But I don't mind reviewing it on behalf of the county.
Okay. And this is for what road?
That's for the raised grant, the southern bypass. Before it's submitted on July the 12th, I believe. Be submitted on July the 12th. raise your hand, and the southern bypass. Well, since you are the county engineer, on behalf of the county, my motion is that you review that application, Pickering application, before you submit it, and if in a way to make recommendation, do so.
Is there gonna be any expenses to the county for that?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
There's gonna be some expense if we don't get the grant. It is better to me.
I get that, but I'm saying, are we going to, so whatever we hire our engineer to do, what pot of money is gonna come out of what district? Because that's not in my district. And I appreciate the fact that we're looking into that, but,
I think they do a lot of grants. That's a question too.
I mean,
Do you have a price to submit?
I haven't seen the application, so I don't know how voluminous it is or what they've done or the preliminary plans or anything. If I just to throw a number out, I'd say, you know, not to exceed $2,500 to go through it, and that may be twice what I need, you know. No, I just pick a number.
Well, I think 2,500 is a reasonable price, projected reasonable price for the possibility of acquiring a grant and such, just for the review.
Correct.
On behalf of the county. Motion by Supervisor Williams. Second by Supervisor Howard, that you will review Pickering application before it's submitted on behalf of the county and make recommendations if needed.
I need to know who is gonna forward it to me. How am I gonna get my hands on it?
Okay, and that's a motion with a possibility of projected cost of about $2,500.
Correct.
Not to exceed.
2,500.
and this comes from where, the 2,500?
Well, that's just district, this is a district-wide project.
Is that your district?
And your,
Yeah.
yes,
Way across the
District 4, that's going straight down going.
Yeah, guys, we don't need. I don't have 2,500 in my road budget to spend.
I don't think
That's making sure.
He is, he just said that's a district cost.
No, that's
I
not
don't
a
think
district
it's necessary.
cost.
I don't either. I'm gonna vote no, I don't think it's necessary. Well, let's take a vote.
Got a motion,
And a second.
and a second, all in favor? All opposed? Motion failed, 2-3.
So another thing.
Where's that now?
We are before Chief Garnett. Sorry.
Can I interject real quick?
Okay.
He's not on let me back up, he's not on my agenda, but we have someone here that's been very patient, that's not on the agenda, that probably would like to.
Go eat lunch, man?
Mr. Taggart, I was thinking about the same thing, we need to move you forward, but would it please the board if we take a small break for a few minutes?
5 minutes.
5 minute break.
I make the motion.
Motion, second by Supervisor Shirley, take a break, all in favor? Motion carries. Okay, good.
I'll give it to Chris. How you doing? How you doing, man? You doing good. Good. Appreciate the good job you did, man. You got us out there on the wide way.
While everybody's on break, this is grants from the Clear Water Group. I don't know if y'all met.
He didn't, he just wanted to know that he didn't, what's going on. We can do that if the family has a place and they're gonna pay for it, then we can do it. I have to get with them to see if it's on their jurisdiction. Well, we could. Well, then, if they have insurance, the insurance will take it. If the insurance runs out, the county. That's gonna be the cheapest route for them. That's why I'm trying to meet them.
Oh, okay, yeah. I will, sure will. Yes, sir. When do we want to do the walkthrough?
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, what about tomorrow?
We'll be there.
Okay, about 9 o'clock tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll be down. Okay, Mr. Good to meet you. Yes, sir. Okay. Mr. Austin in there today. Okay, good deal. Yes, sir, Mr. Ransby.
And we'll be working with I'll be doing a lot of the Occidental County stuff from now on. I just wanted to introduce all of y'all and make sure that y'all have my numbers in case.
Okay, so I appreciate it. Just look forward to working with you.
Sir, you don't at all?
No, that was supervisor trainer. He's sitting in that. Yeah. Yeah, that's that girl. Right there, that's him right there.
So you're the football player?
Yes, sir. What we used to be him, I guess.
Yeah. 25 years. That's awesome. Then all his brothers.
Okay. Did he go with it?
Yeah.
Coach, your son that made back okay?
Oh yeah, I was there before you guys.
But he is currently on this right now. He just got his doctorate up there now. Yes, sir.
See? No more feelings. But the interest is what's getting me. Just a guess.
One quote, the cheapest quote that I got from, Synergetics was
We can use that interest.
I mean, I was gonna wait until I put it in
If
my
somebody has
budget.
trouble with
I've already got 2 computers.
If somebody has trouble with their computer,
And those computers, well, most of all those computers are 2,000.
they were good.
But they're just outdated. But he's already not talking. It don't matter. Marvell, you really gonna start.
I know. I know. But yeah, I'm all for it. We got to do.
And thank y'all for supporting all of this.
Oh, absolutely.
For me, that's my kids, they go out for lunch, because I'm shooting. When I was driving around, I should've sprayed my gun. When I was driving to school.
They don't make it as good as one.
So they started now, it was a couple of things, because it was representatives.
Supervisor Williams, will you see how fast you get us through the rest of the agenda?
Yeah, I saw that.
So I texted her. I think we got to change the word. This is the same entity. And she had responded. Of course, I didn't change the word until later. Bobby after me, I had to leave.
It was a couple of things down in okay,
I sent your information, and your first name, so you know what I'm talking It'll be over soon.
we have got to make sure the board meeting.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn our board meeting.
The board is back in session. And with us being back in session, Mr. Taggart, would you please come forward? You've been real patient. The floor is yours.
My name is Mike Taggart. I'm here on behalf of the partnership. And it's been a while since I've been to a board of supervisors meeting, so I appreciate what y'all do. Difficult job. I'm here today representing the partnership and along with that, letters of support from the following organizations: Mississippi State University, the City of Starkville, Clay County, West Point, City of Sturgis, and the City of Ackerman. And I'm here today to ask for your interest and your support to lend toward an effort to work towards some resolution for the KCS Railroad. As you all know as well as I do, KCS Railroad between West Point and Ackerman is an out-of-service line, has been since 2004. Their last customer was Borden Milk Plant, 2004, and before that they had a wood products customer somewhere in the traditional industrial park. That was in the mid-90s. So they've had last customer was in 2004. And so The city of Starkville, Clay County, all the municipalities that I just mentioned have signed on to a general letter of support about the railroad to try to get some resolution with KCS to use the railroad, to either have them improve it or to turn it over to a local authority of the counties and the municipalities so they could use it for recreational purposes. And so that's what we've sent you a letter of request for Mr. President's signature, and that's really the request. It's a non-binding letter. There's no financial commitment whatsoever. It's just generally we're trying to pursue what's called rail banking, and rail banking is just an opportunity for KCS to temporarily turn it over to a local authority, which the Ikewa County would be a central part of that. And if the economic development needs were ever there that you needed the railroad, then the corridor is still in place. Like for example, if the link came to you and said we've got a major automotive manufacturer that needs rail in the future, you would always still have that option. That's the benefit of rail banking. So we're asking for support for that effort, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
If we bank it, because I do know Ikewa County, I think we get around 80 that railroad. If we bank it, does that eliminate our taxes that we receive from the railroad?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. I wasn't aware of the amount. I assumed there was some sort of rail car tax there, but wasn't aware of the amount. I would say though that for what it's worth, what we've looked at, the only economics that I could bring to the table today is that when you look at, there's two other examples of this in our state. Tanglefoot, which runs from Houston, Mississippi up to New Albany, and then there's the one near Hattiesburg called Longleaf. If you look at the economic development and impact efforts that they've had, they're in the millions over the course of a decade. I think they've done them for 10-year spans. And so they really show that economic impact locally. And it's not your tax dollars, I understand. But it does show you the return on that local investment. And I also don't want to, just so you know, those were not rail banked. Those were traditional abandonments. So, right.
I guess the other question, and this is something that you probably don't know, but I know that railroad, there's land behind that railroad that people can't gain access to, and that's what's held the development of that property up. Would banking that make it easier for an existing landowner to be able to get an easement across that, which I think would more than offset the taxes that Ikewa County would have to forego? And along with the economic development side of it, that's just something, and I guess that would be food for our attorney.
I think there's two things with that. One is that you're probably going to lose the 80,000. So let me first let you know that. Secondly, you're still going to have to go through the same exceptions or allowances that you would get otherwise. But keep in mind, we're talking about banking, not
banding.
So you're still going to have to get the pass-throughs and people to allow them to get to that property. However, I will say that if it is banked and it's obviously not being used, that would suggest, just in my mind, I'm not saying that's illegal, this is not my legal opinion, this is my opinion, that it would make that a little easier to get access to that property. So, but I think you're still going to have to get the same sign-offs on all of that.
Which are impossible to get.
If it's banked, I think you're going to have a little different standard though.
I do know that when you bank it and it's turned over, or abandonment, either one in this case, it's turned over to a rail authority, you control the access. So I agree.
Bank or abandoned.
A bank or abandonment, the local rail authority controls the access.
Well, that would be a positive piece of that. Okay, I mean, I'm just taking into consideration all sides of it because I know that there have been citizens that have come to me, and I mean, there's nothing that I can do currently. It's in my district. Some of it's in Supervisor Miller's as well. Of course, it runs through the county. I would like to know those answers, I guess, would be my only concern.
The answers to the access?
Taxes and
the access. Taxes would be my only two concerns right there.
Well, this letter is just a general, it's just a way to show regional support. Again, it doesn't obligate you to anything. It doesn't obligate you financially. It doesn't obligate you to sign on to a rail authority. It just simply is an opportunity to say, we're in the spirit of doing something positive with the railroad. We all agree that something needs to change.
And it's, you know, at that point, that we could still have the authority to approve or deny.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you could.
You're not fully authorizing anything with the support of this letter.
Right, right.
And in the meantime, I would like, I guess, and I appreciate, you know, that you, on the banking, that you say the county has more authority. I would like to know those answers moving forward.
Sure.
But I don't want to hold the project up, but I'd like to know those answers.
Yeah. Rail law is just a particular, very specific type of legality. So we'll have to get, you know, rail authority to do, an authority within rail legal world to answer that question for you, but we can.
You said the Tanglefoot and the other one was not banking, it was more of abandonment?
Those were examples where the railroad literally abandoned their corridor.
Do you have any documentation of a banking transaction that took place and what maybe be some of the demands of the railroad immediately and what sort of the language would be if they decide they want it back? Because banking is not abandonment. Banking is just, we'll loan you this for. So do you have any documentation?
I know they do it for a lengthy period of time, so it's not a temporary thing. It is something that you would bank it for 20 years plus. The only example that I've found in the region where you've got a banking agreement is in Ruston, Louisiana. Louisiana Tech University, the railroad, similar to Mississippi State. There's actually still a live railroad track there, but they turned over the right of way because they had enough to the local rail authority. And so they banked the right of way to allow for recreational purposes. And this would be what's being proposed by the group is biking and pedestrian and equestrian trail.
So this letter would be in support of the right of way and
well, it would just be, this letter is very generic and all it just says is we're interested in the banking, in the rail banking part of it. Again, it just doesn't obligate you to anything other than moving forward regionally to see if it's a possibility. And I think we sent you a copy of the letter, although I do have copies here if anyone needs them.
I do have, I guess one more caveat would be, say this happens and we're the next Rails to Trails project. Who has to do the security and the maintenance of that section of rail? Is Oklahoma County, are we responsible for the section in our county? The city is responsible for their section of the city. Clay County responsible for their section. How does that work, or is it under one purview, one authority, one group that puts in, we all put in together for the maintenance, the upkeep? How does that work, I guess?
No, that's certainly a good question. It's all determined on what everyone agrees to be the terms of the rail authority. The ones that we've seen, generally speaking, are that the county with the most mileage would probably end up with a bigger bill, right? And the city with the most mileage would end up with the bigger bill. The area with the most crossings would end up with the bigger bill. But that would all be predetermined before you ever sign on to the authority, railroad authority. And I use that term because that's legally how it's described. It would be, in theory, be Clay, Oktibbeha, Choctaw County, and then the 4 municipalities that I mentioned. Everyone would have a seat at that, and then you would collectively work together on the terms of the authority. On the front end, you would know what your portion of maintenance costs would be. So you would know before you signed on to the authority.
So food for thought for our board. You take 84 or 88,000 in hand every year versus you're going to have to maintain, I think we have 28.5 miles. It's to be considered.
Well, it's also, the economics are too, they're not annual necessarily.
But you have to look at, and I look at the whole conundrum, is the benefit, the cost, and the outcome. So I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
You'll have
fine,
to definitely do that, absolutely.
Here, but I just want it all on the table initially.
Yeah, there's an investment and there's also a return. You'll have to determine if that return is big enough to make up for it, so.
I do know that other communities that have done it, it's been very successful. I do know, we do, acknowledge that.
So I mean,
Absolutely.
And that, look, I would love to see something done with that that's beneficial for.
I remember this exact conversation came up several years ago, and the exact same concerns. You know, we're gonna automatically lose the tax dollars that we're getting.
Right.
There's gonna be a cost for maintenance and upkeep and development and things of that nature. And how long before we start to expect a return on all the money that we'll spend, and then going forward, if the rail decide they want it back, if we remove rail, are we responsible for putting it back? And just, it was just a lot of concern.
Right, and I agree with you completely. I think we'd all prefer to have an active, let me just say, I would prefer to have an active railroad because it would be an indication of economic development. But the truth is we don't have an active railroad, and there's no indication that we ever will. And the decisions that we've made locally, moving our industrial park north, we're no longer recruiting in the name of rail access. So, the only reason, I think the reason we're coming to you now, though, is there's a little bit of time sensitivity because KCS is being, it could lead to positive things. It could lead to them, we don't see on the map how they're ever going to need it. But what it does is
main line is the
right,
issue with Kansas City.
Yeah, that's right. We don't see how they'll ever strategically use it in any way. And so when they acquire it, it goes to the Surface Transportation Board. Then what it does is open up the public comment period. And that's the reason we're bringing this to you now, is that public comment period and that's the reason we want to submit this now. We've talked to our delegation who thinks that the timing is proper now to bring this up. So, again, it's rail banking. It's, they may in the end determine to abandon it. We don't know, but that's the reason we're coming to you now with the acquisition.
Well, to piggyback, it's in as rough a shape as I've seen it in my lifetime.
Yeah, we've got bridges that are out, and we've seen
Trees
estimates.
across it where it
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's estimates between 8 and 20 million to rehab the line. Obviously, big numbers.
I make a motion to support this effort.
I'll second the resolution in support.
Motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Miller, that we sign the letter of resolution going to Kansas City Southern, I believe, to support
Surface Transportation Board. Yes.
Transportation Board. That's right. Transportation Board to support this effort. Do we have any questions?
No, but can you get back with us on that?
Yeah,
Please get back with me on the question.
All of us, if you don't mind
Sure.
responding. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Do you need a resolution as well? Is that correct? Or just signing off on the letter?
Well, we were just here to ask for support of the letter.
And I do want to keep in mind that I was actually signing the letter, but I wanted it to come before the board
Yes,
for
sir.
approval before signing it. So,
Well, to consider moving forward.
To consider, yes.
And I hate to be cautious, but my dad's an insurance agent, okay?
so I can't sign it now. So
No, you can sign it, it's just, it doesn't obligate us to anything before there would be, he's going forth to try to see if this project can be viable, and if it is, then I'm sure we would meet with the city, Clay, Choctaw, other entities involved, hash all the details out, and if it could work then, it would work for everyone.
Well, I think that we need to really think what the letter is actually saying. The letter is asking that they release their easement or release that railroad to Octavie County and the city and other counties for a rail to trail. So we asking for permission that the Surface Transportation Board the Surface Transportation Board will release their hold on it, in other words, and that we will have access to it. And once we get access to it, then I guess what will we do if we don't want it, if we don't want to have access to it? We don't want it to be released to us, and we do want it to be released to us once we sign that document. We asking that it be released to us. So now we got it. So now what do we do?
I
So
think
it's a
this,
yes or no.
this resolution is asking us, is supporting the possibility of them releasing their railroad to us. And I guess they would receive this letter and they would say, well, we've got a ton of interest from counties, want us to release this to them. And they would say, okay, well, if we've got this much support to release it, okay, we'll send you this document saying we'll release it under these conditions. And you would have to meet these conditions. If it's banking, these are the conditions that we'll release it to you under. And then we'll get the letter back saying, okay, they're willing to release it. Then I guess we need then to hash out, okay, what are we gonna do about our $84,000 a year that we're losing and this and that. So
yes, sir. That's
this
right.
is just a letter of support, asking them to release. But
And
we're
one of
not
those
committed
conditions
to
would be the
anything.
rail authority, which you could choose to participate in or not.
Okay. Once we get a response back and they say, yes, we will release it, then what are we to say? We want it, yes, we'll take it, and we'll try to move forward. Or we'll say, well, we got to go back and work out the differences.
Right.
Work out the differences before we make a
Come in a later
decision.
step, correct?
Right. That's right. They're just going to simply put it forth to have it banked, place it into a trust bank. At that point, one of the conditions of banking would be for you to participate in an authority, a rail authority. And at that time, if you, for whatever reasons, choose not to, you're just not a party to it. So
that would be the point of negotiation.
Do we have any numbers right now? I mean, sort of got an idea what we want to do with it, but do we have any idea? Do we?
no, sir, we don't have any engineering construction costs. We do know that, using the Tanglefoot, which is very similar in size and scope and scale, and the topography is very similar. That was about an $8 million project. But it also, what happens with the authority is it qualifies you to go after the federal monies that are out there to bring that money in. Most of their project was, the construction project costs were federal funds. They were not local necessarily, they pursued grants.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to sign the letter of support to the Surface Transportation Board. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chancellor Clerk business? No, I'm sorry. Contract for Chief Cornett.
I'm going to stand there for Chief.
Lieutenant Ward.
Yes, sir. Sheriff's Department's requesting to move commissary for the inmates from Tiger Commissary to Keith Commissary. A few months back, we had some problems with delivery, 5 weeks straight. We started looking. Keith is the other biggest name out there. Everything is comparable from one company to the other. We're just asking to move over to the Keith Commissary.
So moved.
Motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Howard, that we allow that transfer. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
President Williams, you also need the board to cancel the contract with Tiger.
Second.
Okay, motion to cancel the contract with Tiger by Supervisor Howard, second by Supervisor Montgomery. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, let's move forward. Chancellor Clerk business, Ms. Livers.
first thing I wanna do is I wanna come to the board and ask, right now, I don't have any money in my budget, so I was trying to wait for the budget year to start. And I'm in dire need. I've got 6 computers that we use in the vault for the customers. 2 of them are completely gone, and the other 4, they're just old. I think we purchased them back in 2004, 2005. I'm asking the board if they would help me, that I've got 2 quotes. One quote was from Tim Hurd, the other quote was from Synergetics. And to go with the lowest quote would be with Synergetics, if the board would help me to purchase the 6 computers that I need for the vault.
How much would that be this year?
For all 6, for Synergetics, it's $6,249.
I say, and I've gotten several calls from people, not to share, but people that go down there and try to look up land parcels, what have you, records, deeds, have a lot of trouble with it. We could use that money that we've got, the COVID relief money that we've got now in the bank, the interest on that, touching the principal, because the Lieutenant Governor said, don't touch that. The interest that it accrues, and if my calculations were correct, at 0.15%, it's about $6,000 a month that makes. I don't think this is an unreasonable request by our Chancery Clerk, so I'll make a motion to approve the replacement of those.
Second, but I don't think the COVID money has.
Or the
We'll make it happen. Yes, please.
We've only got one part of that. We just moved it. We haven't started receiving interest on it yet.
Okay.
Sharon, have you got with Emily to see if you can move money, do a budget amendment to move it from another line item to cover the expense for that? Is that an option? Do you see where you can do that?
I don't see in my budget where I have the money anywhere. I mean, I can, I'll be glad to do that with her or you.
Can you get some, do you have enough money to get some now and finish up with the new budget? We only have a couple of months.
No, I don't. I can wait.
Can we wait until the money that we put into the account accrues enough interest to cover that?
Well, what I was gonna do is I was gonna ask the board if they could give me that extra in my line item in my budget.
Just amend your budget.
You mean increasing your budget for the upcoming year,
right?
Not doing nothing now.
But I mean, I had another one to go down that can't be fixed, so I'm in a tight.
How many you work now?
4.
She was essentially asking for.
See, to do an amendment on the budget, on the budget.
I said, we'll go ahead and amend the budget and move forward with the purchase of that move.
Y'all work it out.
Yeah, 2's already got down.
Do you need 2 now?
Okay.
6 now.
I mean 6 now, but I mean, if I have to wait for the new budget to come out, I can.
I think that we can work it out. I think, as Farmer said, for you, if you come over there first and get with the county, then I think you've got full support to do an amendment, but without, you'll need to go by the county administrators and visit with that first. I don't think you're not gonna have an issue of support from us. You need to go get with them first.
Right.
Ken, we were told, and I've heard several times, we can use that interest, can't use the principal, the interest on what we deem.
But see, we just moved that money, but
we have
we're not getting that right now, and we only got we didn't get the whole thing, right?
We'll get
You got interest earned on other funds.
But my calculations, we're getting 9.6, we got half of that, right? 4.8 million. So 4.8 million times 0.15, divide that by 12, 72,000 a year, divide that by 12, is $6,000 a month. Right. So, you've got the bid out. Why not wait a month? I know that's putting you in a tight. And then when the interest is up to $6,249, it's gonna take 1 month.
Let me get with Emily and Dolores to do a budget amendment instead of messing with that right now.
Is that gonna come out of your budget?
It'll come out of my budget.
Or can we supplement that budget in the rears once the interest does accrue.
This budget year is getting ready to end.
Yeah, we're fixing to start.
If nothing else,
Yeah.
we can increase
For budget.
her new budget to afford it. My
Yeah.
question was, can you get at least two now? Do you have enough money?
I'll have to go back and look at my budget.
She really needs to just come over and get with us.
Yeah.
Just y'all get a plan.
Yes.
Come back to us, and I don't think you'll have any trouble like supervisor.
Yeah.
So I think this motion is to communicate with, county administrator, Mr. Lloyd and Ms. Emmett, trying to work out a plan
To amend the budget,
to
yes.
amend the budget. That was motion by
Supervisor
Trainer, second by Supervisor Montgomery. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
And my last thing, the last thing I have is y'all please do not forget about Emily's surprise retirement party Friday at the Safe Room, and it's gonna be from 11 to 2. And all donations are accepted, either you can see me, Lois, or Chris.
Do you have enough, or do I need to give some more?
I gave.
Has everybody given?
I gave to,
Somebody else gave it.
You had $10?
We're just, whatever y'all wanna, we're trying to get vendors to come in to help. I haven't really gotten with Kristen yet to see what all we've gotten. But whatever, I'm gonna put it on a gift card to give it to them.
I told Kristen I would
That's fine.
be more
You
than
can,
just have that.
she's really taking it over, and, but if y'all wanna, you can talk to Kristen, whatever.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, do you have anything else?
No, that's all.
Okay. County business, county administration.
You have 4 payroll changes in your package for approval.
Motion,
So moved.
payroll changes.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Montgomery, that we approve the payroll changes. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
We have 2 budget amendments. One is the $1,000 donation to the Unity Park. The other is, a check from the Department of Public. We were reimbursed for that.
Motion for approval of budget.
I second.
Motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Miller, that we, approve the budget amendment. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
Alright, we need to approve to pay Corey here automotive. There was an overage on his invoice of $1,229.54.
And what was this for?
It was repairs truck for the road department.
$350. Look like those repairs was needed, seemed like they were.
So we need to approve it to be that much more.
Over, yeah.
Paid over.
6.0 motor, I hate to tell y'all, it's just common.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Miller, that we pay the overage amount. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
We need to acknowledge Judge Morgan's continuing education attendance.
Motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Miller. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
We also have Topac right away on request on Lee Boulevard.
Motion to approve.
Second. Go ahead.
Motion by Montgomery, second by Supervisor Miller. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
That's all I have.
Okay, the next 2 under county business are mine, so if that's okay, I'll run through those real quick. Grand Oaks, you remember we had them, they had beaver damage and muskrats on a lake down there that ran into the road, and we had the beaver guy go out. Some of the tenants think they need riprap to keep it from the dam from collapsing. Some of them don't think. All I want to do right now at this point is get Mr. Baggett to go out and look, because there were so many holes that they put in the levee that they think it's going to wash the road out. All I'm asking right now is first for Mr. Baggett to go look, and then if there is riprap needed, then we'll address that after. So my motion is to get Mr. Baggett to go out there and look and see if actually riprap is actually needed to hold the dam up, where the beavers did the damage. Is that something legal we can do?
Is it on our right of way?
No, it's not on our right of way, but if it busts, it will wash our road out. That's how we handle the.
Safety.
it's gonna mess our road up, we need to look at it.
And that's how we got them to go get the muskrats and all the beavers out. So that's my motion, just for Mr. Baggett to go and look and see that the homeowners association disagrees, some of them, on what they think needs to be done.
How far close?
I don't know, it's just that lake right there by the road, you know what I'm talking about, in Grand Oaks?
And if you need a right of entry or right of whatever, then I don't think that'd be any different than things we've done.
So my motion is to let him go look and see, and then if it's needed, then we will address it after that with what's needed.
Motion by Supervisor Miller, second by Supervisor Montgomery.
Will you, Mr. Baggett,
All in favor that Mr. Baggett will go and look at that project. Motion carries. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
The second one is, I talked to y'all earlier about getting, this is for Skinner down on White Oak Lane. Tom Bibby Water Association has recommended that they put in a box culvert there to help with the drainage so it won't back up as bad. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve that.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Miller, second by Supervisor Montgomery, that we approve the work that's gonna be done by Tom Bigby Waterway Management District.
Right there.
All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
That's all I have. And the trash is not getting picked up consecutively anywhere. You need to sign that, Jeff.
Okay, moving forward, NACO annual conference, Supervisor Train, you want?
Yes, that's my, I like to request participation, to participate in the NACO conference, July 9th to 12th. I'll be participating virtually. I won't participate virtually. So some of you won't attend, but I know I'll be virtual. It's also for administration.
Okay.
Second.
But we do have travel if we,
If you decide you want to travel,
approve
the
travel.
registration fee you have to pay to be able to participate virtually.
Motion to approve travel for NACO, July 9th. All in favor?
And I would recommend someone to attend, or some ones to attend who can to go to it. It's gonna be in, Prince George County, which will be not right close to DC this year. Also, number 4, I think I'd like to suggest we move forward with our road plan. I know we've had road improvement plan. I know we've had a couple of meetings on some things. And I think that now is the time for us to move forward. If we do, maybe we may have some funds in place, maybe the first of the year. It'll be half of the term will be gone by then. And you'll have the rest of the half to try to see if you can do what you can with whatever funds that come out of that deal. I know we've talked about a couple of different proposals, but I think the last time we met Supervisor Montgomery, Supervisor Miller was not here. But my suggestion would be to try to see if we can get up to 10, split it 5 ways. I think it became obvious to us that we could do this without a millage increase, and I think that's the route that we ought to strongly consider. Okay.
I like that without millage increase.
Yeah, as long as the bottom line doesn't move.
I like that. So we got a motion by Supervisor Train that we move
Is
forward.
this that capital improvement?
Right, one of them.
Plan
And I
that
guess
in.
if we need to bring Lynn back, schedule him to come back, so we can, get a better understanding if we need to, because like you.
No, I've got all the information. I was just saying though, it does change where it doesn't, where it doesn't increase your taxes. It does take money allocated from one line item in your road department and put it into this, paying this bond. So it's just things to think about as maintenance and costs continue to go up, like we see just for even soil cement, for buying gravel and cost to fill trucks up and everything else. So I just want cautious that we don't take from Peter to pay Paul.
Well, definitely thank to service all these. And of course, we do know what our end goal is as far as the future goals. And I think if we make the sacrifice now, then boards that come behind us will really appreciate it, because we will be putting a mechanism in place that will far outlast end of our tenure on the board if future boards continue to move forward. And that's the thing that kind of excites me about it.
Well, and too, the way Mr. Lynn showed the way the bond, like I said, it increases and decreases, and after I chewed on that a little longer, it makes a little more sense. But to Supervisor Miller's point, we need to make sure it's affordable within the budget that we currently have. So
I think during that conversation, what made me comfortable with it, our county administrator felt comfortable that she had identified some funds in the budget that we could move around or not, yeah. So, but just to nail it down, do you think we need to let Lynn come back and,
He'll do it. That's fair enough, just, if you
How
can.
soon are you wanting that?
I would just say as soon as we can. I think if we schedule, we have several dates. You know, just hold the board like we've done before, and give us some dates to go.
So the motion is to move forward, not to borrow the money, but to move forward and look into the possibility
Regular meeting
of,
Probably a separate meeting.
so we're looking into the possibility, as we just talking to Lynn, and looking at the possibility of acquiring those funds.
Right, move forward.
Yeah, that's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Supervisor Montgomery. Move forward. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
I guess I'll interject there, and there's no number 5, but number 5, if there were one, is Supervisor Miller just mentioned it earlier. On our garbage pickup, and I called Mr. Benny, and he, you know, he's the route supervisor, and he's doing everything that he can. But we need to make sure that our garbage crew is picking up the roads
A lot of them happening
every week, because we're missing areas. They missed all of John High Road,
McCann.
most of Jeff Pay Road, and I got to looking at it. You know, it's on my furthest west area, kind of, that they're really in the county. And if we could, with those road names, pin that on maybe a specific route, driver, maybe some inexperience. You know, they're having some hard times, you know, with turnover. Everyone experiences that, but I mean, day one, when they tell you to go pick trash up, you would think they would say, "Hey, here's your areas to pick them up." They're missing houses, and I was thinking, well, maybe it's because the person's not putting it at the road. That's not the case, and it's out at the road. They missed a poor lady 4 weeks in a row. I had to make an executive decision. I picked the darn woman's trash up and took it somewhere where it could be disposed of.
Well, the other thing too, if y'all can talk with the lady that's over that, is if they know they're gonna miss a route, by contract, they're supposed to notify the citizen. And so what's happening is they're missing the route on Fridays. People are calling Friday afternoon, by the time they get home at 5 o'clock, and, you know, they didn't pick my trash up again. It seems to be in my area, that it's on Fridays, that they're not picking the trash up by the time you get that. Like I said, legally there's a responsibility too to those citizens on their part to notify them. So,
we do have the person that supervises that, Mr. Benny. Mr. Benny, you have his phone number?
I do, he screens my calls. I just text him.
I think he's real good.
Now, he'll answer me and say, "Hello,
He'll get them back out there.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, Benny's doing everything that Benny can do.
Yeah.
I'll be talking to Benny, and he's literally in a truck picking trash up.
Yeah, he's doing all he can.
But what I'm saying is the people that are working, doing those routes, are putting a lot of pressure on one man. He can only do what one man can do.
Well, Mr. Bennett is over there. He's a supervisor over all of those guys. So just keep complaining to him, and of course keep complaining to us. And
I saw Mr. Crowley down there, and Mr. John Holloman, and I didn't see Harry.
We'll take that to the board. We'll take that to the board.
Benny called me because we were having some trouble with route being missed. I know a couple of weeks ago when all the rain, there was some roads flooded. But Benny said that they came to a decision that what they were paying these temp workers was not enough to keep them coming to work. So what they did, and they had this 90-day probation. If you're a temp worker and you make these low wages, and if you're good enough, so they did away with the 90-day probation. They upped the price, the hourly price, in hopes of being able to keep workers permanent instead of all this turnover. Because what's happening with a bunch of turnover, and they have to assign a new driver, and, you know, it's sort of chaos. But anyway, they implemented those two changes, so we'll see how it goes. So with it.
Okay. Do the supervisors have any other comments that they would like to make? If not, we have a new person with supervisor comments. That's it. If not, we have a new person with Clearwater. We're always glad to have Clearwater come forward. You've done a good job. We thank you for your work that you've done already. Would you come forward?
Yes.
So, tell us about yourself and what you've been doing.
My name is Rance Bilbo. I just recently graduated from Mississippi State in May, so that is one reason why I really wanted to work close with y'all. Small county, very special with me, obviously. I work for Austin and Michael and Arnie, and we look forward. They wanted me to work very closely with y'all in these next, few years and so forth, to make sure that y'all have everything that y'all need from us. And that's why, I wanted to make sure I was here today to give y'all my cards and stuff like that. That way you have my personal cell, you have my email, whatever y'all need from me. So, but it was a very eventful first meeting, and it was very informative, and I look forward to more with y'all and building relationships with every one of y'all. So I really appreciate being able to be here. So. Yes.
Glad to have you. Thanks for coming.
Say hello to Mr. Austin.
I will.
I will say that my family's planning on being out of town. Is there any way you can set that work in commercial? If not, I'll drive back, because I know my vote will be needed that day.
So we have to do a Zoom, do you want?
No, I mean, can I just come in? Can I just come in? Just me via live webcast somewhere.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Can y'all get together?
Sure.
Y'all discuss the curfew at all?
The curfew's done.
Don't y'all want to have any discussions about it?
No, it was indefinite.
I had one thing that I wanted to run over with y'all real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The mayor wants us to have a discussion about this Middleton marketplace funds, this TIF that we did a long time ago. I'm not expecting y'all to make any decision today. I want you to be aware of this. I've got information here just to let you know my knee jerk is we owe some money.
We owe $9,335.29.
Times how many years that we were supposed to be doing this supposedly. Now, that being said, I have only given this a cursory look over the weekend, and just want y'all to be aware of this and to, at your leisure, to look over some of this as well. I think y'all may have the emails as well in your packets. So at some point, we're going to have to address this. I promised the mayor I'd bring it up. I have. I did what I told her I'd do, and we'll circle back.
So attorney, how would we solve this? Because based on what I read, deputy clerk signed off on something that wasn't right, according to the numbers that was pulled. This is what we supposedly owe, not 100 and something thousand. So do both?
I think we need to get the parties. I think we need to get the parties together and move forward. We owe something, but that's
right,
something is
right.
a question mark for me. Before Emily gets out of here, I'd like to sit down and make sure I've got her understanding of this as well. But we'll come back and circle back around. I just wanted to bring it up and let y'all know that we need to address this at some point. So,
okay.
Yes,
One
sir.
other thing before you release. We were to have a public hearing on the East Pivot Hallway Water Management District. That public hearing notice was sent to you by email, and really was already done.
I think it was sent back. Now I'll circle back with her to make sure that it was sent back. So, but thank you for reminding me of that. But that's all I have.
Well, we have anyone else? I'm good. We have a motion for adjournment, right? Supervisor Miller, second by Supervisor Montgomery.